He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals, but I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What
are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more.
Get a rest!
No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
You're not even a has-been.
You're never was. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. A new show of the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. 631-672-3108 is the number. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, what is going on, my friends?
Well, dealt with some different frustrations yesterday, mostly Rangers related, but some computer related too, but a lot better now, and hoping the Rangers can bounce back in game 2, but probably not.
Hoping. That is a great word for all Ranger fans, the word hoping. And we will get into the Rangers just in a few moments. But before we do that, because everybody wants to hashtag ban the beef,
of course,
we do not want to ban the beef, ladies and gentlemen. But it just seems like it is a forsaking thought that everybody wants to ban the beef. But that's another story. Anyways, at 9:45, we'll be talking to JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief Chris Nimbley. He'll be joining us. We had him on the show, I would say about
November, something like that.
7-8 months ago. Really, really good. We'll talk about the Jets, the acquisitions, his thoughts of where the Jets are going into the new season. So that'll be interesting. At 10:15, we'll be talking to co-author of Incredible Baseball Stats, Ryan Spaeder. He'll be joining us. So that'll be interesting as well. So we'll get into his book and stats of, the past in baseball and in the present.
Big baseball Hall of Fame guy, so he does a lot of research on guys that should get in that aren't expected to get in either.
So there you go. We have a great show, and the topics we'll get into the Rangers and the Hurricanes. Game number 1. We'll get into the Edmonton Oilers.
They still haven't stopped the puck.
And the Calgary Flames game, which ended with, I think, 15 goals, which is ridiculous.
9-6.
Or 15 or 16 goals, whatever it was. But anyways, we will get into the Heat and Warriors series. And why I say the Heat and Warriors series, because they're both up 1-0. Love sticking it to the Celtic fans, by the way.
Yes, because you're the biggest Warriors fan imaginable, too.
No, well, there you go. Them too. Both teams I do not want to see make it to the finals. Could you imagine this?
Yeah, you'd have to root for Golden State, which will be painful for you.
I don't know. But what is wrong with me, Beav? There's a lot of things wrong with me, but I don't want to talk about it on live air because I don't want to scare anybody. We will get into the Max Scherzer injury. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling Met fans for a long time since that $43 million a year where he's the highest paid baseball player in the league. Well, now he's out 6 to 8 weeks. So get ready, Met fans. Get ready. It's time to crumble. We will get into the executives believing that the Nationals will trade Juan Soto. And why? Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because I've been saying this for a while. Juan Soto will be gone. I don't know where he's going, but we'll talk about the Blue Jays are actually a lead team to get him. So it'll be very, very interesting moving to the trade deadline. Are the Washington Nationals willing to give up arguably one of the best young players in baseball? They're going to have to get an emotional, they would be emotional. The fans would be emotional, but they would have to give up a boatload of picks and players and future stars to get somebody like Juan Soto.
Maybe some that are already on the roster right now.
Absolutely. But why don't we get into the Rangers, okay? Because I have a smile on my face. And
yeah, I'm sure you do.
I do. I have a smile on my face because going into the third period, and by the way, the first 2 periods I was at the mechanic. My friend was fixing my car. I had air conditioning problems. My air conditioning wasn't working. It was blowing heat. I just had a new compressor put in my car, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. And for some reason, the sealants weren't sealed, and we couldn't keep the, what do they call that? Freon, the Freon inside the compressor, which didn't help me very much when it was hot out. So I went to my friend. He actually fixed it. Hopefully it will stay fixed moving forward, but that's a whole nother story. So I was watching the game on my phone. And after the first period, the Rangers were up 1-0. They were dominating the game. And I've been telling everybody this. In hockey, when you have a certain amount of time off, when you have, I would say, 3 to 4 days of rest, everybody thinks that benefits the team with rest. In hockey, it doesn't. It just doesn't. Because you have all the momentum when you get out of that series. You have a hot goalie, all that other stuff. And the Carolina Hurricanes, they had 3 or 4 extra days off more than the Rangers did.
3 days off. The Rangers had 2.
So going into this series, I expected the Carolina Hurricanes to be a little bit cold. And in the first period, the Rangers dominated. They were skating very well. Their kid line was dominating. Capo Caco was all over the ice. So was, what is his name? Quill or whatever the hell is it? Keedle, whatever his name is. And then obviously Lafreniere. They were all over the ice. But as the second period came around, you saw Carolina getting the feet under them, their skates under them. And they started shooting more at Scherzer. And even though the Rangers got out of the second period still 1-0, you could see that the momentum was going towards the Carolina Hurricanes. And in the third period, that's when a great team figures things out and starts dominating. The Rangers didn't have one shot on goal for almost 10 minutes in the third period. And still, it was only 1-0. And as the third period was going along, and I had Jeff texting me, here we go. We're going to see the Rangers win game number 1. We're not going to hear it. We're not going to hear enough of it from Ranger fans, a.k.a. the Beef, and Tyler, a.k.a. Mothball Beastman Harrison, who wanted to post up all over social media that he was hanging out at Miller's Ale House, and that's why I wasn't going there. My favorite place, I was not going over there to Miller's to see that incompetent idiot sitting at the bar with all those dopey Ranger fans, hanging out with them, and cheering and listening to the crap that's coming out of their mouth.
And the strawberry hennies that might be coming out of Tyler's.
Well, you mean coming out of his paws? Because I mean, that guy drinks more like a fish. I mean, seriously. But that's he actually
Tyler Fishball Harrison.
It looks like a fish. Well, he is too big for a fish. Actually, he'd be more like a donkey that could swim or something. Anyways,
beluga whale.
Beluga whale. That's a good one. I mean, Tyler, a.k.a. Beluga Whale Harrison. That would be good. Anyways, to get back to the third period. What we saw in the third period was Carolina just completely dominate. They kept moving and using every ability they had to keep the puck out of their zone and put pressure, so much pressure on Scherzer. And what really happened with the last 3 minutes of the game, and I know Ranger fans are saying, Gallant should have called a timeout. Why would Gallant call a timeout when the Rangers were up 1-0 and he wants the game to be over? Why would the Rangers want to call timeout to give Carolina some time to figure out what they need to do in the offensive zone to put the puck in the net? That made no sense, and I'm going to throw the Beef under the bus, ladies and gentlemen.
Only a matter of time.
Because that's what he told me Gallant did wrong. But there was a lot of things that Gallant did wrong in the third period. And there are 2 things that I look at which made absolutely no sense. He played Panarin too much in the third period when he has done nothing in this series. Nothing. Okay? He didn't play the kid line as much as you expected him, what he did in the first and the second period. He took the kid line off and didn't play the kid line as much as we saw him play them in the first period and second period. And we'll put the Beeve on in just one moment. So wait, Beeve, we'll put you through. I will say this. If you're a Ranger fan, I know Ranger fans like to get the consolation prize. And the consolation prize for the Ranger fans is we only lost by 1. And the Carolina Hurricanes had to beat us in overtime. But Ranger fans should only understand what happened yesterday, and to me, could be a series-ending game number 1 loss.
Yeah, it seemed like for a while in that third period, they were still weathering the storm well. Shesterkin made some tough saves. You saw a lot of the defensemen get a lot of block shots, even when the Hurricanes were possessing the puck forever. But that was the main problem, is the Rangers kind of went back to the old, like when Elaine Vigneault was coaching them, the dump and chase type thing, and it just tired them out. And there were many different moments where Gallant could have called a timeout. It wasn't just that one moment that Ranger fans were complaining about. It was all throughout the last second half of the third period. There were many different instances. And I thought the rotations, too, were definitely strange. You saw Gallant change lines a lot in Game 7, and they got different combinations on the ice, and he kind of shied away from it after that. Yes, you're not going to break up the kid line because they were playing well in that game. But
he didn't play the kid line in the third period.
But every other one,
that was their best line.
Scramble them around. Put these veteran guys together in different combinations. Put more of your defensive forwards out there. Kreider's a good defensive forward. Zibanejad, Goodrow, those types of guys. You're saying Panarin played too much. Yeah, Panarin's not a defensive guy. Why is he on the ice against some of their top wingers in the third period in defensive zone situations? Like, I thought they could have strategized it a little better than they did. And they just kind of were just playing not to lose. And that's just, it doesn't work in a 1-0 game. If you're up by 2 goals, 2-0 at that point, okay. But not 1-0 with an offensive team like Carolina the way they are. The Hurricanes outshot the Rangers, I think, 15-2 at one point in the third period. Yep. And that can't happen.
Rangers didn't get a shot until 10 minutes after the third period started.
And the Hurricanes had 5 grade A scoring chances in that first half of the second period. They scored a goal off a rebound, which, that's going to happen when your defense is tired and you're leaving lapses. Shesterkin allowed a bad rebound too. I'm not going to discredit him either, because that was a bad goal on his part too. But then Sebastian Aho, yes, he's a skilled player, but he still should not be alone like that in front of the net. So all in all, I just thought the game planning was really bad. The management was really bad by Gallant. The adjustments I thought could have been better too.
All right, Beeve, what is up, my friend?
I'm going to throw up with Speedy's stupid freaking take that he just said on Shesterkin. He stopped the first freaking goal. He was down on his knees, and Trouba didn't do anything to push the guy out of there, and that's why they scored. Speedy, you're lost. You are an idiot.
Trouba hasn't played well all postseason. I know that.
You are a disgrace to Ranger fans. I'm sorry. You are a disgrace.
Okay, it was still. This is not a great rebound.
You should go sit at the bar with the other disgraceful Ranger fan, Tyler Harrison.
No, Tyler would agree with you. Probably.
God, I have to actually sit here and listen to this shit that's coming out of your mouth. Holy crap!
Was that not a bad rebound, Beef? Yes, I know Trouba deserves more blame. Fine. If you want to say that, yes.
No, you cannot put that goal on Shesterkin. Shesterkin, that was the reason why the Rangers were in the game in the first place.
It was off a rebound.
It was off exactly.
I'm not calling it the worst rebound of all time, but
he's down on his freaking knees. He's on the ground. And what are the defensemen? The defensemen are just standing there doing nothing.
Well, yes, they shouldn't be doing nothing. I agree with that.
You are a complete idiot.
But it's still not a good rebound.
You just lost all credit. You just lost all credibility as a Ranger fan.
It's not a great rebound.
You are an idiot.
I love it.
It's not a great rebound for.
I gotta sit here and listen to this crap. My God.
For a goalie of his caliber.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on,
God.
It is his assessment. It is his assessment.
It's a stupid assessment.
Beef, what was the number one thing I just blamed?
Hold on a second. And Gallant should definitely call the timeout with 2 minutes and 57 seconds left.
Why would you? Okay, if you're a coach,
I'm going to explain.
Okay, let's hear this. Okay, here we go.
So Carolina was just pounding on them. They had the puck in the offensive zone almost the whole third period, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you take that timeout, you settle the boys down, you talk to them. You got to calm them down and say, listen, there's 2 minutes left. Let's just try to play great defense and get out of here with this 1-0 win. You got to calm them down. They were getting destroyed on the offensive zone. They were so tired. You have to call a timeout.
You do know that the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes is Rob Brindamore, right?
Yes.
And you do know that Rob Brindamore this year, I think the numbers were when at timeouts. I think at certain timeouts in certain regular season games that every time they called a timeout or a certain amount of games they called a timeout, they scored goals. You do not give the Carolina Hurricanes a time to figure out how to get into the offensive zone and how to put more pressure on your team.
But your players, I think the Rangers they were so tired.
You're up 1-0. You don't call a timeout to give them the opportunity to come back. You want to? It's 3 minutes left of the game.
Your players.
All right, this is what you do. You get your toughest guys on the ice, Reeves. You get your fast guys. I would have played 4 offensive players and 1 defensive player. That's what I would have done. I would have put my best defensive player on the ice, and I would have put my 4. Hold on. I would have put my 4 toughest speed guys on the ice to forecheck and try to run out that time. That's what I was going because hold on, because you know what Carolina's going to do with 2 minutes left of the game, especially down 1-0. They're going to pull the goalie. That's what they're going to do, right?
Of course.
So what I would have done is I would have put Reeves out. I would have put my 3 kids out there. I would have put Kakko out there, Lafreniere out there, and the other kid, Hedl. I would have put those 3 guys out because they have looked the best on the ice throughout the game. In the first 2 periods, those 3 guys were dominant. They were forechecking. They were doing everything.
So was Lindgren.
Lindgren was the reason why the goal went in.
Well, because he put his stick in the air like an idiot.
It's his fault. It is his fault.
He shouldn't have put that stick up in the air like that.
The reason why Carolina tied the game was because of Lindgren. So I'm not going to blame Shesterkin on the first goal. In the overtime, yes, it deflected off the puck. Let me ask you a question. You know, first of all, that they're going to probably throw the puck towards the net. Okay? They're going to do that. They're going to do that because that's what Carolina does. They like throwing the puck. And they know Shesterkin has been giving up a ton of rebounds in that game. He gave up every time the puck hit him in the pad, it was bouncing it off and there was open.
Yeah, he was giving up a lot of rebounds, but yes, that's fine.
All right. All right. So knowing that, why? I repeat, why was Shesterkin playing outside of the crease? Okay? Why was he playing outside of the crease? Now, I know he's trying to cut down the angles, but why? Cutting down the angles, he saw the puck coming right at him.
He did.
He saw the puck coming right at him. Why? And I know it deflected off. What is that saying? What did he say? What did Snug say?
If the Rangers had thrown
no, that's not what I'm reading. The last one. Nope, that's why he blew the play.
Something to Jeff of waivers again.
Listen, Jeff wants to make this joke with the waivers, but I'm not the only one, and I'm not going to get into the waiver thing tonight. So Jeff could say and make jokes all he wants. I could care less what he says about the dumb fucking waiver thing. Excuse my language, guys. I don't want to get into that. That was all about that. But,
last show. Another point that you made that I agree with is that Gallant did not play the kid line enough. He didn't. He should have played them more.
He was hurt, so using Errol logic, he should have needed one. Well, Lindgren's been back the last 3 games. He's not 100%, but he's not a concussion protocol.
But he was the reason why we won that Pittsburgh series. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, he played phenomenal in Game 7. He was in Game 6, but serviceable.
Errol said before that Gallant didn't play the kids enough in the third period.
Right. He didn't.
And you're 100% right on that. And I don't understand why he didn't.
This is the problem with a lot of these veteran coaches in all sports. They do it all the time, and this has been a big problem. And why do you think Barry Trotz doesn't have a job with the Islanders right now? Barry Trotz doesn't have a job with the Islanders. By the way, there's a new lead team to get him, and that's the Philadelphia Flyers. Just so everybody knows that. So, and he might end up in the same division as the Islanders and the Rangers. Who would have thought that? But anyway,
you can't put this loss on Shesterkin. It's not his fault that he lost this game.
No, the main loss is on the offense because they jump and chase too much.
It's not even on the offense. It's more on the defense because.
But I'm going to say this: you're not going to blame Shesterkin because there was only 2 goals given up, but he only had 26 shots on him. 26 shots.
Yeah, but
24 saves.
The
2
deflection
goals.
is not his fault, though. I mean, it's not.
Both the shots were deflected. Both of them. Both goals were deflected.
One was off a rebound. That wasn't his fault, and then the other one was not his fault either. So both those goals was not his fault. It was on the defense.
The fact is, man, that's a killer. That game, that goal.
Well, it is a killer because they
was
played
a
well
killer.
for 2 periods, and then the third period they didn't look at it.
And in hockey, it's all when you watch hockey, it's all about momentum. And now you gave Carolina a reason why they believe they can go through this series 1, 2, 3. And I believe going into game number 2, the fans are going to be louder. Hold on one second.
Yes.
The fans are going to be louder. There's going to be more pressure on Shesterkin to win this game. And if the Rangers go home 2-0, they're not winning both games against Carolina. They're just not. They're not. Because I believe Carolina could completely end this series in 5 games if they win game number 2.
I mean, you saw in one of the series where mostly the home teams won. And
that was the Bruins and the Hurricanes, yes.
Yes, well, so it can happen, But going down 2-0, the chances for the Rangers is not going to look good if they go down 2-0.
Well, they've relied on they've relied on the comebacks a lot.
They got to play.
This is not the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I understand that. I'm not comparing.
I'm just saying because right now Speedy just said, well, they've come back a lot. Yeah, that's great. This isn't the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is the Carolina Hurricanes, a team that a lot of people believe are Stanley Cup bound. They're a team that a lot of people believe is going to win the East. It doesn't matter who wins the next series, Tampa or Florida. They're going to beat both of them. Okay, so if they get out of this Rangers series, which I think they're going to fly right out of this series, because I think the Rangers.
I don't think they'll fly.
Oh, I think this series ended in game number 1.
It's either going to be in 6 or 7.
No way.
If it is 6, there's going to be a lot of ugly games.
You predicted 6. By the way.
Predicted 6.
I did predict 6, but there's going to be some ugly games.
But after game number 1, I don't know if it's going 6. I predicted 6. I don't think it's going 6 because after they took all the oxygen out of the Rangers winning that game. The Rangers, what was it? 2 minutes and 30 seconds left of the game, and the Rangers had a 1-0 lead. They completely kept the Carolina Hurricanes off the board for almost a full game. Shesterkin was probably saying, my first shutout of the playoffs, my first shutout in playoff history for me.
I don't think.
And then all of it,
I thinking about trying to get the win.
I don't know, man.
In order to do that, he needed the shutout at that time.
I don't know, man. Because I think this is.
Well, here's another thing that the Rangers could have ended it when Kakko missed that wide open net.
Well, yeah, but it was a whole compilation of the third period. I want to know the exact time of possession too, because the Hurricanes seemed like they had the puck in the offensive zone for 13 minutes of that period at least.
In the third period,
which is a big problem for the Rangers because it looked like Alain Vigneault coaching them again. All they were doing was dumping and chasing, and then they ended up icing the puck too much, or the defenseman couldn't clear it. Whatever ended up happening. How many flailed clear attempts were in that third period? You mentioned Trouba. You mentioned Trouba out of position all the time. He also made so many bad passes and bad clears too, and then there were a couple from the young defensemen too. Which
go ahead, Speedy. Go ahead. Did any Ranger fan kind of complain about the play calls or the ref calls in game number 1? I want to hear it.
No, I didn't think there was
one missed call on Kakko, and that was it.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't the referee's fault this game.
Nope, but they did miss that call on Kakko. They missed a hooking call on him.
All right, so they miss hooking calls all the time. They miss penalty calls all the time.
But this one was so obvious that I don't know how they missed it.
Yeah, it wasn't. That wasn't the reason they lost.
He was going to the net and he got hooked and he couldn't shoot the puck. I mean, it was right in front of the ref and he didn't blow the whistle at all. So that was horrible.
Do you want me to blow the whistle for you? Would you like me to blow the whistle for you?
Well, but also it was before that Kakko had missed a wide open net also. So he's got to bury that. I'm sorry, he's got to bury that shot.
You want to bury it for him? Do you want to bury?
I still think Gallant made a mistake by not playing the young kids, and he made a mistake by not calling the timeout.
Well, I think that was the biggest mistake for the New York Rangers in game number 1.
The biggest mistakes that
the biggest mistake, the number 1 mistake for the Rangers was the three
What?
youngsters not playing really at all
I
in the
agree.
third period.
I agree. So now going forward, do you think he plays them more?
I don't know. I don't know what Gallant is thinking, but I'm going to tell you this right now. Gallant has not looked good in the playoffs for the Rangers. He hasn't. He hasn't looked good. And I don't care if they won series number 1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They only won series number 1 is because they had Domingue in goal the whole series, because they were up 3-1 with the third string goalie. And if Jari played for the rest of that series would have ended and wouldn't have won to game 7. And I don't care what any Ranger fan tells me. Domingue was horrible in that series. And the fact that they decided to play him and wait until game number 7 to play Jari was the biggest mistake for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I'm saying that because Jari's horrible too. So he's just much better than Domingue. Domingue was horrible, man. That goal in game number 6 that he gave up with 30 seconds left of the game was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Trying to catch the puck. He thought it was in his glove and it was in the net. Okay? Horrible.
By the way, we have Jeff on the other side.
Well, don't put him through because I don't want to hear his fat ass.
On Kako caused him to miss a wide open net. Was it the missed penalty? Why he missed a wide open net to win the game? How about the Rangers? They just played their best game of the playoffs by far. Shesterkin was really good. I'm not shitting on how they played. You can nitpick Lindgren. You can nitpick Trouba. That's fine. I'm all for that, right? You can have criticisms of your team. But you lost the game because Capo Kako shit his pants with a wide open net.
Let's try to keep the curses out of the show. We're gonna get ourselves into trouble.
Hang up on him.
Hold on 1 second. Put Jeff on hold just 1 second. We'll get the beef off and we'll talk a little bit more hockey with Jeff.
I don't want to hear that fat.
All right. Right. No cursing on the show. We said this.
You can go drown in the pool and freaking
all right,
to the bottom.
What else do you want to? What else do you want to add to?
No, I'm just saying that I think Gallant made a huge mistake with that.
I think he did, and I think if
Gallant going forward, if he wants to win this series, he's going to have to play these young kids a little more, and don't play. I don't like him playing around with the lines because he plays around with the lines too much.
Well,
I don't like that he does that.
Well, I think the Rangers need to wake up and smell whatever they're going to smell. Smell the roses. Smell their underwear.
Panarin and Zibanejad got to do something.
Panarin needs to get his fingers out of you know what and open up his eyes. He is not playing hurt. Stop it. He is not hurt. He is skating just fine around the ice, man. He is out skating everybody to the offensive zone. He is not hurt. I don't want to hear that he's hurt. There's no excuse. The guy doesn't show up in the playoffs. He doesn't.
And if it comes out that he's hurt, then what?
All right. How much you want to bet he's not hurt? How much you want to bet?
If it comes out after the series that Panarin...
Everybody's hurt. You play 82-game season, full contact sport. Everybody's hurt.
There's something wrong. You know, Panarin hasn't been right ever since that whole Russia scandal.
Oh, so we're going to blame the Russian scandal.
He was great the whole season when he played. He was sixth in the league in assists. He was sixth in the league in assists.
Dude, he had the most assists out of any Ranger in history in one season.
Yeah, no, but he didn't have a good season.
For a year, he missed a month and a half or so like that. He had 75 assists, which was sixth in the NHL. Yeah, he had a down year goal scoring, but he had his best year of his career with assists.
If I had a guy that scored 26 goals in a down year, that's not bad for me.
Yeah, but for him, that's a down year for him.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. He didn't score 40 goals.
Right. Think about it this way, Beef. Him and Chris Kreider kind of essentially switched their normal role. Kreider had the best goal-scoring year of his career and the best in the league, and Panarin had more of an assist year. Usually it's the other way around. Kreider's always been known as a better passer.
Kreider didn't score the most goals in the league.
No, I'm talking about the team.
No, he didn't.
But
let me ask you
if
this,
Panarin does...
How many games have you watched this year?
How many games have I watched this year?
How many full Ranger games have you watched this year?
Something in the 50s. Why?
I watched every single game.
Okay.
So I know this team inside and out.
Okay.
Okay, so I got a question for you. You know this. What color underwear does Shesterkin like to wear?
That I don't know.
You just said you know everything from the team.
You took it way too literally.
Yeah.
I got you.
And what is wrong with your hair today?
What's wrong with my hair?
I don't know. It looks like it's like the bird's nest. I don't know.
Well, listen, I didn't put a hat. That's why. Listen, man, I didn't want to wear. Bird's nest.
Looks like a bird got into it or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'll tell you who got into it, but I want to say it on live radio.
Oh, no. You're an idiot. I don't know what you had for lunch today, man. But
No. Hopefully,
send it over this way, because it must be good.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to ask your mom what I had for lunch. Speedy, how about yours?
Nope.
I don't know, man. But I don't know.
Tyler.
You think I'm crazy with my takes? You guys are out of your damn mind too.
Well, we love you too, Beef. So
yeah,
well. Anyways, Beef. Thank you.
You got it. I'll talk to you guys later.
Beef. He'll be listening to the show, I'm sure. Let's put him on. Let's put him through. Jeff, what's going on?
Dude, this is actually ridiculous. Like, it's actually ridiculous. The encyclopedia of excuses he has. Right? It's fair to blame Gallant. You want to see Gallant do something different. It's fair to have criticisms of your team. Did he just blame? Oh, well, our guys are banged up. Yeah, Kevin Fiala from the Wild had a dislocated rib, a broken rib, and a punctured lung, and still played.
Dumba had a broken rib too.
Right. So this is what I'm saying is, Errol's point is completely correct. Show me one healthy person in the playoffs, and I'll show you a minor leaguer that just got called up. Right?
And there should have been another one that should have got called up. Zach Jones. They should never play Patrick Nemeth again, but that's besides the point.
But every guy that's playing right now is hurt. Every one of them is hurt. So he's blaming injuries. Like Carolina just came back from a week at the spa. Oh, they're all rested up. Right?
They had one more day of rest than the Rangers did.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's an encyclopedia of it's this. They missed a hooking call on Capo Caco. Really? Is that why he missed a wide open net, or did he just poopy his pants?
Well, I will say this: they played.
Capo Caco buries that, they win.
Yes,
right?
yes,
they win, and then the narrative is completely different. Then the narrative is, we have such a great team. We shut out Carolina. We're amazing. Stanley Cup is ours. But instead, Capo Caco poopied himself and now playing everything.
No, you know what I enjoyed is after the game, usually if the Rangers win, Tyler Harrison posts up, the Rangers win, and he posts up a statistic for Shesterkin that he was dominant and all this other stuff. I haven't seen anything from Tyler Harrison.
Well,
I would have loved.
I thought Shesterkin had a good game.
Yeah,
he did have a good game.
And not for nothing, you can say anything that you want about Ranger defense and whatever. The game turned because in the third period, the Rangers just basically played the equivalent of prevent defense in football. They had no offense, and they just said, screw it, we're just going to play defense. But up until then, the first period and the second period, how many shots did Carolina have in the first period? 4?
Yeah.
Like 4 total shots? What did they have in the second period? Like 6?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
the Rangers were playing too much dump and chase in the third. It felt like Elaine Vigneault was coaching again.
I understand that, but the Ranger defense was actually spectacular in that game. Like, if you actually go and compare how they played, imagine only giving up 4 shots in a period to one of the highest scoring offenses in hockey. You take it every day. That's great defense.
Well, yeah, because a lot of people thought Carolina was going to score 3 or 4 goals in this game. They could, and I think it had a lot to do with them being out for a little bit of time, and they needed to get their feet under them. But you could see the difference of this team and the Pittsburgh Penguins. This is a completely different team. Yes,
it's night and day, dude. It's night and day. You are literally dealing with a team, by the way, in Pittsburgh. You want to talk injuries? They don't even beat Pittsburgh if Brian Dumoulin plays.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Dumoulin was out. Their defense was down. They had a third-string goalie, and you're celebrating because we beat them in 7 games. Now you're playing a real team, and it's excuse heaven.
By the way, by the way, they didn't even have their starting goalie. Frederick Anderson hasn't even played in the playoffs yet.
Antti Ranta's been great in the playoffs.
He has been, and they're not going to rush Anderson back, but Anderson is the better goalie. And anybody
Anderson is the better goalie.
Yes.
So they're getting the Rangers are getting the best draw they possibly could have gotten on the planet, not facing a single number 1 goalie. And yet It's excuses everywhere. It's Gallant not calling timeout. It's the defense. Oh, they missed a hooking call on Capo Caco. Oh, it's this. Oh, the referees hate New York. Really, the referees hate New York? How about that phantom call they called on Ryan Lindgren or after he cross-checked Rodriguez? Rodriguez just gets up and just checks Lindgren, and they call the penalty, right? The referees have been helping New York this whole playoffs, helping them.
And you want to know something? When you look at this series, this series could have been, this game could be the dagger of the series, because to have a 1-0 lead with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left of the game and not win the game against a team that really wasn't playing at the top of their game, that says a lot about Carolina when they start playing at the top of their game. So that's scary. That's scary.
Listen, the series is not over. It is only one game. Although I would just say this, and listen, I hate the Rangers and I hate Ranger fans especially. I think they're all mouth-breathing pukes, right? But here's the thing. The Rangers just played their best game of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They did. That was a fantastic game they just played. Shesterkin, that's the best game he played in the playoffs, hands down, right? And they still lost. That has to be demoralizing. That has to be demoralizing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Stuck says the Pens were 900 years old. This was their swan song. Hashtag ban the Beeve. Hashtag pray for Bayshore. OMG, is the Beeve blaming Putin for Panarin's problems?
And they got to play games with Sidney Crosby out, right? They had no Brian Dumoulin, but the refs were helping them. That terrible call on Rodriguez was the one, is honestly the biggest joke I've ever seen. But yet he's complaining the refs don't help the Rangers more. Are you kidding? I'm like, what world does he live in? Banana Land?
There it is.
Yes. The return of Banana Land.
No, but honestly, that game was refed, I think, pretty freaking good.
It was a good
right?
refing game. Yes. Yes,
right. But he's still nitpicking them because it just wasn't the way.
No, he didn't say anything. He didn't blame. He just said the Capo Caco call should have been called. That's it. He says everything else was good. You know,
and nothing matters if Capo Caco hits the net. Nothing matters if he hits the net.
That's true.
Right? And did he hit the net?
No.
All alone from just about 10 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, he was 10 feet out and the net is 6 feet wide.
And wide open. And wide open, by the way.
And wide open. And remember when they drafted him and he was like, "Oh, I love Capo Caco. Oh, we got Capo Caco. What a great pick."
I was there.
He's
I was there at the draft.
Great.
I was there at the draft.
Does he think the pick is so great now?
Well, I will say this, I'm not trying to put the Rangers down. Lafreniere so far has been a bust, and Capo Caco right now has been a bust. Both players have been busts. I know it's early. They're both young. Caco's 21 years old, and Lafreniere's 20. They're kids. But 2 years into Capo Caco's been in the league for 3. Lafreniere's been in the league for 2. And Lafreniere started the season off really, really good and just completely fell off. And he played a lot of games this year. He did nothing this year. And to me, if I'm a Ranger fan,
good in the playoffs though. He's been pretty good.
He has been good in the playoffs, and he's been playing good defense in the playoffs too, Lafreniere.
Both of them have been very good in the playoffs. But to me, what I've seen with this Ranger team and some of the youngsters on this team, these guys were high picks, and they're still not developed. That worries me as a development organization. The Rangers do not know how to develop players. Capo Caco will go somewhere else, and he'll become the 40, 50 goal scorer that everybody thought he was going to be. Because I remember when he came into the league, people said that his game was very comparable to Teemu Selanne. That's what I heard. You know, the guy could...
Everyone was saying he was a left-handed Selanne. Everyone was saying that.
Everybody said that his game was comparable to Teemu Selanne. That's what everybody said he was. When I was at the draft, everybody said that this guy is a gunslinger. This guy is going to be a 40, 45 goal scorer, after, his first 1 or 2 seasons. This guy is going to score 40 to 45 goals. The guy hasn't even been close to that. He's lucky to hit double digits. I mean, he's been horrible.
He's lucky to even get the puck on net.
It's been horrible. Yeah. It's been horrible. Before we get our guests, I want to get into that Calgary Flames game, the Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames game. I will say this. That was one of the best offensive hockey playoff games I've ever seen. That game.
It was actually one of the worst.
I thought it was so fun to watch. You didn't like that?
I would rather see a hockey game played with one of those shooter tutors. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Right, Speedy, do you know what a shooter tutor is?
I do not, but I figure it's something weird.
It's the board that they tie to the net that just has the corners open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they call it the shooter tutor because that's what you put in net like during practices.
No, that's what they use it for some of the All-Star Game Fest competitions.
Right,
stuff,
I would right like watching those two goalies. It looked like Beeve was in net. It was terrible. It looked terrible.
It was. I thought it was fun to watch. It was back and forth, goal scoring. The horns were going off. The crowd's going crazy. I've never seen that many goals scored in a playoff game in a very long time. I don't even remember the last one.
Up 20. Celtics up,
I'm watching it. We're watching it.
At half.
We're watching it right now.
You gotta love it, don't you? 20 just burn in the net.
25 points. Yep.
20 for Tatum, 15 for Jaylen Brown. It looks
12
like
for Grant Williams
yes,
and 8 for Pritchard.
Yes, but getting back to this Calgary Flames game, I think Calgary's going to win this series because as good as the Edmonton Oilers are when it comes to their first and second line, which they're fantastic. Nylander, you have McDavid and Draisaitl. These guys are great goal-scoring players. They're fantastic. I think at the end of this series, I think Edmonton's going to have to sit down, or management's going to have to sit down, and they're going to have to decide. This team, just like Toronto, and Toronto's going to have to figure that out in the offseason too. You got all these players, and you just can't get over the hump. The Toronto Maple Leafs can't get out of the first round. The Edmonton Oilers can't get out of the second round.
But the Oilers, you're talking like the Oilers have all of these problems. They don't. They're a very good goal-scoring team, and their defense is not great, but it's not bad, right? It's probably just about a very solid off defense.
Right.
Their problem is goaltending. Find one meatball to stop the puck, and they'll be.
They had a chance to get Varlamov, and they didn't. They didn't pull the trigger.
Right, but they were asked to give up too much. They'll find a decent goalie in the offseason somehow, some way. But right now, it's a mess. And as soon as they find a goalie, dude, look at where this team was halfway through the season. Were they in last place? Because they were pretty darn close to it, I think.
They were, and I also think with the Edmonton Oilers, they don't play good team defense. They don't. And
they have
Darnell Nurse probably had the worst game I've ever seen him play.
Right, but Darnell Nurse is one of the most solid dudes.
Yeah,
on the
he is.
planet.
He's very good.
By the way, his cardio is second to none. He probably plays 50 of the 60 minutes of a hockey game. Right? So they'll figure it out. They just need a goaltender. Mike Smith ain't it. And who was the dude they had originally?
It's Koskinen. He's still there too.
Koskinen.
Yeah, he's the backup now. Yeah,
dude, he stinks.
Oh yeah,
he stinks. He's terrible. Dude, put the shooter tutor in net, and they win a Stanley Cup.
Jeff, call back later. We got to get our guest on.
I'm glad to see that you have a guest that's not the Beeve. You might actually get some good takes. That kid's an idiot.
Oh, Jeff from Tampa. How wonderful. Anyways, we'll go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have our special guest. We're going to have him on again, and I'm so happy to have him on. He's a Jets insider. As everybody knows, I'm a Jet fan, so it'll be very interesting to hear now what his thoughts of the Jets after the draft and after this offseason of free agency. When we come back here, we'll be talking to Editor-in-Chief Chris Nimbley here on the Sports Loudmouths.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know,
I cannot hear.
I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy PD. 631-672-3108 is the number. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Why not the first 45 minutes to have the Beeve and Jeff from Tampa on the phone, our guests, well, our fans, calling up and going at it with one another. But now we have our first guest of the show. Happy to have him back on. We are now talking to JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief, Chris Nimbley. What's going on, Mr. Nimbley?
Chris, you there?
Chris, you there? maybe we doesn't hear him. He doesn't hear us. Maybe tell Chris to go in and out again. That's what I would do. Some technical difficulties over there on Mr. Nimbley's side. We'll hopefully get him back on and come back in. But anyways, we'll have Chris Nimbley back in just 1 second. I want to apologize. Some technical difficulties. Again, I'm looking forward to hearing what Mr. Nimbley has to say about the Jets and what they did in the offseason. Because I will say this. The Jets had one of the best off seasons. They really did. Adding the draft stock that they had this year. And everybody said that they had to slam dunk this draft class, especially this is the last class that they were going to get for what they traded Jamal Adams for. And Sam Darnold. And they got a significant boatload of players for a draft that everybody thought was such a weak draft. I think this was a good draft for the Jets. I think this could change the outlook of the New York Jets moving forward for the next 5 to 7 years. So if Sauce Gardner's anywhere close to the player that he is, and Jermaine Johnson turns out to be the pass rusher that everybody thinks he's going to be, and then Garrett Wilson, by the way, the Jets signed all three of them in the last 2 weeks. Sauce Gardner gets his contract worth about $30 million. Garrett Wilson gets something around $20 million with, I forget what guarantee money he gets, but he gets a certain amount. And Jermaine Johnson gets $13 or $14 million with a certain amount of guaranteed money as well. So all three players, all their three first-round picks. Jets better be able to beat the Bears. Well, the Jets should beat the Bears. I will say that. I mean, is Nimbley coming back in?
He's messaging me right now on Twitter saying Garrett Wilson's contract is 4 years, $20.55 million.
Yes.
And expected to include a $12.1 million signing bonus and 5th-year option.
Interesting. I like I said, I think the Jets and they are still looking at Kawan Alexander. So he's a guy that the Jets really, really like. And we were talking about Abajobi, whatever his name is. Ogunjobi. He did not sign with the Jets yet.
Yeah, there were other talks that he might be going back to Cincinnati too. Now he's thinking about.
So I thought he was almost lock and clear for the Jets. There's no lock that the Jets. Carl says the Jets win 7 games at best. I say 7 to 8 games at best. If it's a great season, the Jets win 9. I think the Jets are 1 year away. I think that's where I think the Jets are. I think they're 1 year away. If Zach Wilson shows the growth of the player that we think he's going to be, that could really transition for the New York Jets for the year after, where the Jets could really be that team to beat in the AFC East. What is he saying? Are we getting him on?
He said his browser was crapping out on him. I sent him a new link if he needed it. We'll see if he comes in.
Well, we're trying to get our insider in. We're losing time because we have our other guests. You have them so close together. So, and I told you this from the beginning, Speedy. If something like this happens, we're only going to get a certain amount of minutes with the other guy because you have to split them up at least 30 to 40 minutes. I don't know why you have them so close together. But again, you don't listen to me, but that's just another thing. As everybody knows, you can call us at 631-672-3108 is the number. This is Sports Loudmouths. We are live every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. New York Eastern time, as everybody knows. Errol, I broke a toe last night. Who knew it would hurt as bad as it does? I will say this. I have broken many, many toes playing hockey, okay? Fractured toes, not broken them completely, fractured the toes, being hit with a puck in the foot, being, tripped and falling and like damaging my big toe. So I have a messed up feet. A matter of fact, I have bone spurs in both my feet. And my right foot, I've been told by my doctors that I need foot surgery for years, and my feet will never be the same. I have sneakers I can't even wear anymore. I have $300 sneakers that I bought years and years ago that I can't wear because of the tightness and how, I guess you could say, wide my feet are. So it's horrible. It's the worst thing to have. You could say bad hands, bad knuckles, bad anything. The worst thing to have is bad feet because you do everything with your feet. And I could tell you right now, having bad feet as much as I have over the years, I can never play hockey again the way I used to play. And I don't know if I could, run up and down a basketball court for more than 15, 20 minutes. Right now I can't, but because of my hip surgery. But when I actually get 100% healthy, I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that anymore. It's crazy. And I'm in great shape. So it doesn't make sense. I did have White Castle today. I would say that. That's not good. Okay. So I didn't eat very healthy. I haven't eaten very healthy the last couple of weeks, but I do, I'm trying to get back into shape. Well, I'm in shape, but better shape. But there you go. We're still waiting for one?
Yeah, still waiting for him. He's trying another browser.
All right. Well, tell him to change the computers. I mean, if his browser isn't working, tell him to go on something else. Or does he have Mozilla, whatever the hell that is? Fox something. What is that? I would love to say I broke it with some Macho War story, but it broke it on my baby's bouncer. Wow. How did you break your toe on a baby's bouncer? I mean, were you trying to hop on the baby's bouncer? You broke your toe. Why are you so quiet over there, Speedy? Hello, are you there? Are you alive?
Yeah, I'm typing to him.
Oh, you can't multitask?
I don't expect you to direct me right away. You were reading off Carl's comments.
I'm reading off comments and I'm talking. I mean, you are part of the show. You want me to talk by myself? Anyways, to get back, I bashed into it. Oh, I got it. Well, I hope you feel better, man. I broken toe. Is it bruised? Is it very fat? What is it like? Because if it's fat, what I would do if I were you, you can get popsicle sticks. I know you're going to probably laugh at this. This actually works. You get 2 popsicle sticks, or you tape your whichever toe it is connected to the better toe. Tape it together, and it'll keep it stable. It'll stabilize it. Or you could cut a popsicle stick and put it on the bad toe and tape that, and it'll keep it straight. That's another way. So just a little splint, a little idea that I use playing hockey. So just give you some advice. Still waiting for our Jets Insider, JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief, Chris Nimbley, who should be joining us soon. I don't know what's going on. I feel bad. I got it taped. Yeah, taping it is the best way to go. So, Speedy, why don't we get into, because we're waiting for Mr. Nimbley, and I don't know what's going on. Why don't we get into the Warriors series? Last night, winning a game that just completely outplayed the Dallas Mavericks. It looked like the game was close. It looked like he was going to stay close going into the second half. And then the Warriors just pulled away offensively, and they dominated. They took Luka Doncic out. I have no idea why Phoenix couldn't do that in that series. They're a better all-around defensive team than the Golden State Warriors, and I know they play the triangle offense and all that other stuff. Golden State is not known for their team defense. They're really not. I mean, everybody's going to say, well, they've been one of the best team defending teams every single year. Yeah, but this team is not the same team that they were when Thompson was healthy. And Draymond Green's older, So, and they didn't play very good defense against the Memphis Grizzlies. They really didn't. John Morant was killing them until obviously Jordan Poole hurt him. So, me and Jeff were talking about that whole Jordan Poole thing. Now, I believe it was intentional. He says that he doesn't think it is. But getting back into that series, game number 1 for the Dallas and Golden State. Listen, Golden State is the better team. They're the better team. Hands down, they're the better team. But we saw what Luka Doncic could do and how he can change a series. We've seen LeBron do it year in and year out. If you have a superstar player that can take over games and hit big shots and big points of the game, you can win those games. LeBron did it for the Cavaliers for years before he went to Miami and then came back and won another championship over there in Cleveland. To me, Dallas, I thought was going to put up a fight. I don't know if this series is going to go past 5. And it sucks because I wanted to see the Western Conference with Phoenix and Golden State because I thought that would go 7 games and we would be talking about, to me, the best point guard in the NBA, the best point guard of our generation, and Chris Paul versus the guy that everybody thinks is a top 5 point guard of all time.
Some people even think of the second best point guard of all time.
In Steph Curry. And we'll get into the Celtics and the Miami Heat, Jeff. And unfortunately, I don't know what's going on with Chris Nimbley. We might have to get him on another show. But it sucks because I really wanted to get into a Jets conversation with Mr. Nimbley. So I want to apologize to the fans and the Jet fans that wanted to hear what Chris had to say. He's a great insider for the New York Jets. He's been working for the Jets for years. I read a lot of his blogs. And he travels and he studies the Jets and what the Jets have done in the offseason. I was really intrigued to hear what he had to say about the Jets draft and free agency. But going back into this Golden State series with the Dallas Mavericks, I think this series ended last night because as good as Luka Doncic is, if they're not going to get team offense from Tim Hardaway Jr., Brunson, these guys need to score. And if they don't score and they're going to put all the pressure on a guy like Luka Doncic, you saw what Golden State can do defensively if they can't take Luka Doncic out of the game. They have a tremendous amount of offense. You have Wiggins, who can score. He averaged 17 points a game. You have, obviously, Steph Curry that can average 25 points a game. You have Klay Thompson, who came back this year, is averaging 20 points a game. And then Jordan Poole, who was fantastic this year, averaged 22 points a game. You have all these offensive players. Luka Doncic is one player. He's not scoring 50 points every single game, guys. He's just not. And this, as much as I thought Phoenix was the best team in the West, Phoenix did not play like the best team in the playoffs. Golden State has. They have, and they have the pedigree. They've won championships. Draymond Green has won championships before. Steph Curry has won championships before. Klay Thompson has won championships before. This is a winning organization. So for anybody to sit here and say, you know what, this is going to be another upset, and Dallas is going to run all over Golden State. And I hate the Golden State Warriors. Anybody that knows me, anybody that listens to this show knows I can't stand the Golden State Warriors. Can't stand them. I can't stand Steph Curry. I cannot stand Draymond Green. Okay? And Klay Thompson, I love him as a player. I really do. I think he's one of the best two-way players in the league when he's 100% healthy. Klay Thompson doesn't know when to shut up either on and off the court. This team has been a cocky team ever since they've been put together. And I think Steve Kerr is one of the worst head coaches in basketball. If the Mavericks lose game number 2, this series is over. It's over. They don't stand a chance. Because even if they go back to Dallas and win a game, if you go down 3-1 against the Golden State Warriors, you're not coming back. Now, I thought Memphis was probably the best team in the Western Conference to surprise everybody and knock off the Golden State Warriors. But after Ja Morant got hurt, it was never they were never going to be able to keep up offensively with that unbelievable offensive style of basketball, the triangle offense they like to run. But obviously, when you look at the big picture and you look at where the Golden State Warriors are and where the Dallas Mavericks are going into the series, Golden State is going to be the favorite. Hands down the favorite, even though Luka Doncic probably is the best player in this series.
All right, we got Chris on the phone. His internet is crapping out, so we have him on the phone instead.
What's going on, Chris? How are you, man?
Not too much. I apologize about that.
It's all right, man.
A little bit of a mess over here, and I haven't been using the internet much, so it kind of crapped out as soon as I needed to.
Anyways, just so everybody knows, we are talking to JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief Chris Nimbley. We were looking to talk to him after the Jets' wonderful draft and what they've done so far in this offseason. So why don't we get to it? Chris, what were your thoughts of Sauce Gardner going 4, Garrett Wilson going 10, and then the Jets trading up back into the first round at 26 to get Jermaine Johnson? 3, the triple five. What do they call it? The trifecta?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the Jets and their first round?
Yeah, you can't really argue with the positions of need that they got there. They obviously, there's a lot of talk about with Salah's system, and they didn't need the top flight guy. And they do kind of have that theory, but they make exceptions for certain players. If they will make exceptions for an elite guy. They will not turn that down. And they think this kid has all the traits to be elite physically, and they just fell in love with him. Personality from a mental standpoint, just the kid himself. They just couldn't have asked for a cleaner prospect there. So that was a no-brainer for them. And then they still were sitting there thinking about Jermaine Johnson at 10 and kind of going back and forth, but they opted to say, we need to get Zach Wilson some more help. So they went to lean there, and they went with Wilson. I probably would have waited a little bit personally, but I get their thought there, because going for Wilson, they wanted a guy with the best release, best beat press man coverage. That's what they wanted, and the offense to go with Zach Wilson. So they got that. And then Joe Douglas did what he does, and he played the board. He waited, and then he waited. He called teams up asking, okay, and then he waited until somebody came with an offer like that. He's like, okay, that's worth it. I will trade up for Jermaine Johnson. So he got 2 huge needs on defense and got Zach Wilson another target. And in the first round, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Ideally, you'd like a little more help on offense, but you can't nitpick too much there.
So what do you think about the day 2 draft picks? A lot was made about how the Jets got a great value with Breece Hall and Jeremy Ruckert as well, and even some of the later ones trading up and getting great value there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I am a believer in analytics and all this, so you do have some of the analytics crowd that is criticizing it because you're giving up a 5th round value equivalent, and I thought that's just kind of absurd. Like, we're talking about the equivalent of a 5th round draft pick. You can give that up, especially in a weak draft class. Go ahead and package those late round picks up for higher picks. I have no problem with that. And I'm generally a believer in the wait to get a running back crowd too. But I think around the early 2nd round is where you want to get those guys sometimes. And they did that last year with Michael Carter. They waited and they said, okay, we got Michael Carter. Now they have Michael Carter, a very specific type of running back. So you can't just wait on any you don't want a Michael Carter clone. So they get Breece Hall, who's who could be a 30-touch a guy game, who's the explosive downhill power guy that they need, but he can also be a receiving back. He can do it all. So, I have no problem going and being like, all right, this is a little richer than we would normally like to spend on the running back, but let's do it here. The Rucker pick, they signed the 2 tight ends this offseason, so they don't have to need anything big out of him right away, which is just huge for tight ends. They usually take a little bit to develop, and there's somebody that in this system that I'm not don't want to throw out the George Kittle comparison. I'm not going to say he's going to be anywhere near that good, but they would like to use him in a similar vein. Have him in a similar type of role that to develop. If he could be 60% of what George Kittle was, at his best, that would be great. They would love that. Max Mitchell, the extra swing tackle they would like to develop. That's around where you want to take those swings. Joe Douglas couldn't resist, getting himself at least one big guy on the offensive line. So he did a really good job of looking through blending needs with value and playing the board. And as long as I've been covering this team, I've never seen a draft and everything just executed so competently. And now it's a low bar we're talking about with the Jets here, but I haven't seen it.
We are talking to JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief Chris Nimbley, and you were saying that this was a competent draft, and I was talking about it. Like I remember the time when Mike McCagnon was there, and he was all over the place. He the way he drafted, a lot of Jet fans were just like, "Why would you draft him in a later round? You had this guy open. You could have gotten this guy." And for years, the Jets had just, after the first or even the second round. And by the way, the Jets are one of the worst teams when it comes to drafting in the second round. So they have not been very good drafting in the second round. So why don't we get into, this offseason, even in free agency? You brought in Tomlinson. You brought in all these different pieces to help Zach Wilson. We heard Zach Wilson put on about 8 or 9 pounds of muscle. He's been training all off season. He broke up with his girlfriend before the season was over. A lot of people were questioning why that happened and all that other stuff. Maybe because she was getting in the way of his development. Who knows? We don't know. When you look at this team, I believe if this team, it don't matter how great of the players that they have and what kind of draft they have, everything is going to roll on Zach Wilson's arm. What are your thoughts so far of what you've heard and what you've seen so far in training camp right now to say that Zach Wilson's going to take a leap?
Yeah, well, this is the trend. This is what teams are doing with all around with the young quarterbacks. I refer to it as building them training wheels. It's what the Dolphins are doing with Tua, Tyreek Hill, what the Bills did with Stephon Diggs for Josh Allen. You make the offense around the quarterback so good that if the offense can't succeed, it's the quarterback that's the problem. That's what the Jets are essentially trying to do right here. They start OTAs coming up on Tuesday, so we'll get the first little crack at them with the new look. Everything else has been off. You just have to rely on what players are saying and telling you. And I have definitely heard the stories through the Jets West camp of Sanchez about how different he looks there, and I've heard it with Darnold and all these other guys. So I hesitate to put stock in it. But these players, just from last year, these players believe in Zach in a way that I don't think I've seen anybody other quarterback believed in. There was a little bit with Sanchez in that those early years, but that was more and like, okay, we trust you to kind of drive the bus of this team, how we're set up. But they kind of knew the limitations there. These players really do believe in Zach, just mentally as their leader and as a player. So we'll see. Last year he was a little more built and thick than I expected coming in. So you can see now he's a little bit more just in the pics and videos. You can see a little bit of that. I expect that'll help him a lot. But I think just mentally, he's probably going to come in just at more settled pace. It's just everything you could tell, even just by watching. Obviously, he didn't play great down the stretch or anything, but you could see how much everything slowed down. He wasn't making disaster mistakes. So I think if he can come in just a little settled already, like, all right, the rushed part of this is behind me, that he can at least be, decent. Like, that's the thing. I think he's got a good shot to be at least decent to good. How good can he be to good to great? That's where I have my questions.
So, being that they brought in the 2 tight ends, especially, you've seen the 49ers, even with Kittle banged up at certain points in his career, do a lot of the 2 tight end sets, and sometimes they maneuver Kyle Juszczyk into that kind of role. Now they bring that offense to the Jets. So even with the receiving depth now, can you see it emphasize those tight ends more, or do you think it'll still be more of the 3 receiver type offense that you saw he brought in when he was on assistant with McVay?
Yeah, no, I expect that they'll be heavy with the 2 tight ends. I think, they'll definitely switch and go to some 3 and 4 wide when it's called upon. We saw some of the creativity with LaFleur too. Some of those trick plays that he'll draw out. Now, some of that was out of necessity towards the end of the season when, it was just Braxton Berrios is like the only thing that got going there. But you could see that he's willing and able to do that type of stuff. But this is going to be a meat and potatoes offense. They're going to run the ball. They're going to use those 2 tight ends. They're going to bring in heavy offensive lines, and they're going to use the running game to set up the passing attack. That's what it's going to be. They want to be in the same vein when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl that year and they were running for like 15 yards to carry. Yeah, we know what the NFL is these days. Everyone wants to pass, but if you can get a first down every time running the ball, go for it.
We are talking to JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief Chris Nimbley. Talk about the Jets defense, and the Jets defense was one of the worst in the league last year. Robert Saleh was brought here to really change and transform this defense into that prototypical defense we saw Rex Ryan bring to the Jets in the mid 2000s. When you look at this team now, you added Carl Lawson last year. He tears his Achilles before the season started. Everybody said that this guy was going to be the it factor for the New York Jets. They didn't have any pass rush on the edge. Now you have Jermaine Johnson on one side, and now you have Carl Lawson on the other. You have a middle. Quinn Williams he's going to expect that $100 million contract. I expect him to take 2 or 3 steps forward this year. He had 6 sacks last year, 7 sacks the year before that. I like to see Quentin Williams have 12 or 13 this year and show people why he's a dominant force in the middle. And some of the other players that have rankings really didn't show up last year. They gave Franklin Myers a lot of money. He didn't play well in the second half of the season, completely died down when he got that contract. And they brought in other players, obviously Sauce Gardner, that secondary. What are your thoughts to this defense this year moving forward? Is this team going to be a completely different defensive style of team, even with CJ Mosley now at full strength?
Yeah, it's going to look a lot different. Last year's defense, first to talk about Carl Lawson, every single day of the training camp, he was just dominating, putting on a show. And then to watch him get hurt, it was just like deflating. Like even us reporters were just like, oh, there goes the defense. But get him back, what he can do. But it's still it's kind of tough because like on one hand, I'm cut Rob Saleh some slack because he was trying to run his defense, his system without the horses to run it. But at the same time, I was like, you got to recognize you don't have the horses to run it. So I know you want to implement your system, but you have to tweak it to what you're working with. And that's what you saw the first part of the season. He was just they were stubbornly trying to just enforce their system, even though they knew they didn't have the guys. And they went into the season knowing, hey, we're going to be starting a bunch of undrafted free agents. And then those guys got hurt. And then like the secondary, they were picking up every week. They had a new safety playing. So there was a lot of moving parts. And if everything broke right for them last year, it was going to be a bad defense. And everything seemed to break as wrong as possible. So it went really bad. So I think it'll be, like a progression back to the mean here. And then if you can keep Carl Lawson healthy, you can get a little bit more out of the secondary. Now they still are missing, like a ball hawking free safety. They need more there. They still need some linebacker help too. They're going to need to find another big body to plug for the run stuff and defense. So, but this team had so many holes, they weren't going to be able to fill them all. But I think that they're going to be able to be like at least, much more closer to a league average defense this year with a little bit more upside some weeks.
So a lot of rumors were swirling around the Jets trading for a receiver. That obviously did not happen. Deebo Samuel was the big one, but also DK Metcalf, AJ Brown before he got traded to the Eagles. Do you think the Jets made the right decision in not pursuing that at the price that those teams wanted to?
Yeah, at the price that the price and the tag, I think works. Tyreek, obviously what they offered for Tyreek, I think would have worked. They weren't going to offer up, either of their first round picks and then to give him that money. Because, like I said before, that it's all the training wheels theory. But once you start investing all that money into the free agents, now you're fully pot committed, and it's like you're all out on these next couple years. If you can hold off on that, then you leave yourself flexibility. So then, if Zach Wilson doesn't pan out, then you could position yourself as, one of these teams, the new team of the Tampa Bay Bucks, who was stocked ready for Tom Brady, or the Broncos, who was stocked and looked like you made themselves a nice destination for Russell Wilson. So if Zach Wilson doesn't pan out, you can try to position yourself for something like that. And, obviously it'd be great to get an A.J. Brown, and the way that, I would have preferred that at the time, but the way that they had gone through that, it made all the sense in the world to me. I get it.
I will say this. I think they made the right choice bringing in Garrett Wilson. I think on my board, he was the best wide receiver in this class. There's no question. The best route runner in this class, a tremendous amount of speed. And if you look at the Jets and what kind of speed they hold now, I don't know if Denzel Mims makes this team this year, but supposedly he's looked pretty good on what they have said. If Denzel Mims plays, and then you have guys like Breece Hall, and then Garrett Wilson and all the weapons they have like 4 or 5 guys that can run a 4.3, 4.4 or less. It's unbelievable how much speed the Jets have. And I think that's very, very important moving forward to help Zach Wilson, especially in the open field and running this Mike LaFleur type of offense. Let me ask you this question, Mr. Nimbley. You look at this whole team, and I don't think this team is more in a good season. I think the Jets could win 9 this year in a good season. I think the Jets are a 7 or 8 win team this year. I think next year will be the year where I expect the Jets to take a leap. You look at this team now on this roster, and even if they add a Juan Alexander, I don't know if they will. They add a Juan Alexander to this linebacking core. You're paying C.J. Mosley a lot of money. Where do you see this team, honestly, as a whole, if this turns out to be a really good season for the Jets?
If you're saying a really good season, I pretty much am aligned with exactly what you said. I think top is you're looking at 9 games. And the thing is, it's not, you can't even really, like the Jets can be so insanely improved over last year. But the AFC is just the AFC West is stocked. Like there's so much talent. These teams are so good right now that I don't even think it's like it's gonna sound worse than it is. But I think like 9 wins is the maximum ceiling, and I'm comfortably planting my flag in the 7 wins, and I think that it's going to be. At the end of the season, Jets fans are going to be relatively happy with it. I think, it's tough. You get those 4, starting with the AFC North 4 games in a row. That's tough. If you switch the schedule around, so you got those last 5 games to start the season with, you could start with like a nice 4-1. You could be one of those teams that kind of coast and like, everyone knows isn't as good as their schedule, but maybe you could like sneak in on the back door of a playoff. But I think that it's going to take them a little while to get going. But I think their losses are going to be more competitive, and I think you're looking at probably 7 wins. But the end of the season, you're gonna feel like you're not gonna be just looking at who's the number 1 draft pick quite as quickly as you normally do.
I just want to see Zach Wilson's development. If Zach Wilson shows everybody that he could be the leader of this team, he could really take that next step to be an elite quarterback in this league. That would make a lot of Jet fans really happy, because you don't want to go into next year saying, okay, we don't have a quarterback, and now we got to go into another draft looking for another quarterback and then building again with him. I don't want to see that. I think this is a very, very important year for Zach Wilson. I think Zach is the leader. I think Zach is going to be the guy, and I think Jet fans should be very excited to what we're going to see this year with this team offensively and defensively. you look at this coaching staff, and I, besides Robert Saleh, a lot of people were taking shots at Mike LaFleur. Okay, some of the play calls in the first half were questionable, and a lot of these. Obviously, they lost Corey Davis for the whole season practically. They lost what's his name again? Who the second round pick? I'm sorry,
Elijah Moore.
In the second half, Elijah Moore looked like he was going to be a breakout wide receiving superstar. I think he's going to be fun to watch this year if he can stay healthy. This offensive, stability of this team really just didn't have a functional way of playing. What are your thoughts this year now that this is the second year under Mike LaFleur? Do you think Mike LaFleur is what everybody says he's going to be, an offensive guru, and is going to eventually be a big-time NFL head coach?
Yeah, the offensive guru thing, I'm not so sure about. I also just think that people get a little carried away with saying what does that mean? I don't know. But I do think that this offense is going to be humming at least. I think we started to see at the end of last season, you started to see the running game take shape, even without those weapons, without those wide receivers. And it had no threat of an actual aerial attack.
Right.
And they were still able to run the ball competently. And a lot of part of that was the offensive line took a little while to get settled. You remember that first game against Carolina, that first half, that offensive line, it was like, oh my God, this is going to be the longest season ever. And it took them a couple games to get settled, but then they started to come around, and you could really start to see the running game taking fruition. And then you add, like Tomlinson to it. Now you add a couple of tight ends that can come in and block. Now you got some things humming there. So I do think that that's not a concern of mine. Now, how well is he going to be able to blend the run pass balance? If Zach Wilson is good enough and they're doing that and take shots deep, those are the things that, that's the type of stuff that separates, the best from just merely good play callers. And some of it's just dumb luck, right? Calling the right play that happens to get executed in that moment, where there's other coordinators that called the right play, it just didn't get executed. Or this. So some of that's just dumb luck too. But I do think that as he's going to have this offense, all these players, Zach Wilson included, set up to the best that he can possibly set them up to succeed.
So last question for me, just one Jets bold prediction for this season and one bold prediction across the entire league.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So I think that let's see, how bold do I want to go here? I think I'm going super bold with Elijah Moore is going to have a huge season. If he can stay healthy, I'm going top 5 receivers there. Wow. I think that I think this is largely going to be with I could pair it with their running game. I just think their running game is going to set them up so much. And then they're going to do so many different things with the other weapons that they have, that Elijah Moore he had such good chemistry with Zach Wilson last year all throughout training camp. I think it'll take a couple of weeks to ramp up, and then I think everybody's going to be going nuts trying to get them in their daily fantasies and everything throughout the end of the season. So that's one thing there. And then, okay, league-wide. Oh, man, we have got to go in there here. Man, what do I got league wide? I'm really you say league wide, and my brain can't get out of the AFC West because that's just the most fascinating thing in the world to me, trying to figure out what's going to happen there. And yeah, my brain is now telling me I want to say that it's going to be so complicated in there that something crazy like the Chiefs isn't going to make the playoffs, but that sounds ridiculous. But I'll stick with it just because I want to be ridiculous for right now.
As everybody knows, we're talking to JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief Chris Nimbley. Last question for me, Mekhi Beckham. And I before the draft, a lot of people were saying that if Ekwonu was sitting there at 4, the Jets were interested in possibly drafting him and moving on from Mekhi Beckham. I told fans that's not true. I think he didn't. Some people say that there were voluntary OTAs or whatever practices he didn't show up to, and the Jets told him to stay home because his son was getting born or his kid's going to be born. So, what is it? Are the Jets upset at Mekhi Beckham? Now, obviously, because of his weight, because he was like 400 pounds at one point last year. Who knows what's going on? You're an inside guy. What is going on with Mekhi Beckham?
All right, so there's a lot to this here. Now, I'll start with the Ekwonu thing. Joe Douglas definitely did love Ekwonu, and I knew like early in the process he was saying like he would think that long term drafting Ekwonu would be the best thing for them to do it for, because the fans not going to be here for too long. And then they could do stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so he thought long term, but they recognized the need to get Zach help now, and that would create kind of logjam. So that kind of backed him off of there. But he really did love Ekwonu. Now, with Becton, the reports of him coming up to camp last year, all fat and out of shape, were way overblown.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he actually came into camp, he was in excellent shape. But there was something going on with him and the coaching staff, and I still haven't been able to place exactly what's going on here. And this is kind of a byproduct of COVID and us not being in the building all the time anymore. Mm-hmm. We don't get to talk to players like we used to, and so many of these players I don't even know, like on a personal level, because we haven't met them like that. But there's some disconnect, and the coaching staff kind of used him has taken the opportunity to use him as an example. Mm-hmm. This is a future a first round draft pick, and we're gonna hold his feet to the fire and do all this stuff too. So they would do that to send a message to the rest of the team, and I can get that on some level. But the way that they've been kind of manipulating the stuff with the weight stuff, and then they've been putting this stuff out, it all makes me uncomfortable. You can see how Becton doesn't like it when he responds on Twitter. Mm-hmm. But I don't, and him staying OTAs, his girl was like gonna have the baby any day now. It's absurd that anybody would really make that into a big thing, especially for voluntary OTAs. Yeah, he was staying in Texas. He's training, like he's got the videos. He's gonna come and he's gonna play as long. The biggest concern, the only real concern I have with him is going to be healthy. Can he stay healthy? We saw his rookie year how good he can be. Mm-hmm. I don't have any doubt that if he's healthy enough, he can get back to that. And I think he'll be fine. I just think that this coaching staff is kind of using him to make an example of, and then the way that, and then the message gets portrayed and then goes in the media kind of gets messy. But I think once he plays and starts playing well, I think everything will settle down from there.
I think they've been doing that to him, and they've been doing that to Denzel Mims, and I think, and I just don't understand it. I understand it's not Robert Saleh's guys. Mekhi Becton was a Todd Bowles guy, obviously, and also obviously Denzel Mims was a Todd Bowles guy. He wasn't a Robert Saleh guy, so I understand the aspect and thought of where this team. I'm sorry, not
Adam Gase.
Adam Gase guy. I'm sorry, Adam Gase. That's what I meant. I keep saying Todd Bowles, but Adam Gase guy. Both guys were Adam Gase guys, and I guess they're not loved by the Jets. Before we let you go, because we have our other guest, I'm really upset at you, man, because you're not following me on Twitter. I'm going to. I think I followed you the other day. You're not following me. I'm very upset at you, man. I'm a Jet guy. I'm a Jet guy. I respect you, and I love what you have to write. I follow your blogs. We got to start following each other, bud, because
all right, I'll get on that right now. I haven't been using Twitter too much. I try to stay off that.
How could you stay off of Twitter? Instagram. Listen, everybody knows social media. Instagram is bull. It's really for the Kardashians. If you want to take pictures of your ass and put it on. I don't use Instagram. I think somebody got on my Instagram. Facebook I use to just post up the radio stuff and everything like that. Twitter is the best social media thing for us. Really, It really is, because it communicates what's going on in sports and the communication of what's going on in the world. So lately I've been a little bit more posty on my Twitter, and I'm going to be breaking 4,000 people follow me, which is thank you to all the fans that follow me, even though they're probably telling me over and over again, where the hell is your DMs? Where the hell is the posts? But I'm going to start doing it, so I apologize. But we got to follow each other, bud.
I got you. I'll follow you for sure. But yeah, I do the same. I don't use any other social media. I try to just tweet and then not look too much at Twitter.
I got you.
It's such a mess, but I will definitely give you a follow.
Thank you. Speedy will send you my Twitter, and I'll make sure that I'm following you 100%. But I love you, man. We really appreciate you joining us. We'll get you on very, very soon as OTA starts, and looking forward to meeting you sometime this year at the Jet Games.
Awesome. Sounds great, man. Have a good one, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We apologize for all your internet problems, too, by the way.
Yeah, no, that's my fault.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. JetsInsider.com editor-in-chief, Chris Nimbley. Awesome guy. Great personality. It just, really gave you the inside of Mekhi Beckham and everything that's going on with the New York Jets, and that's what I love. And he even came on when I expected him not to come on because of all the complications with his social media. Why don't we, when we come back, we're going to go to a very quick break. When we come back, we're going to have co-author of Incredible Baseball Stats, Ryan Spaeder, here on the Sports Loudmouths.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, we are the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy PD. 631-672-3108 is the number. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app on iOS, WWSRN, or Android. Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy, I love that track. Coldplay? Is that Coldplay?
No, this is the Killers. When we were young, when you were young.
I love the Killers.
Yes.
It was
Fantastic
either Coldplay.
song.
It's either Coldplay or the Killers. I love them both, and I'm sure Mr.
Yes.
Spaeder loves them too. We think that he does.
One of their big hits back from 2006.
I love the Killers.
Yeah.
You ever see the Killers live?
I've never seen them live. I've always wanted to.
Jones
yeah.
Beach. I saw him years and years ago. Fantastic. Also saw him in Madison Square Garden. Very, very good band. And by the way, I forget what that track is from there. Not the latest album. The album before that.
I know the one you love is The Man.
The Man.
Yeah, I played that one. I played that one about a month ago.
Man.
You know what it was? When we had the Zookeeper, Matt Price, we had him on the show. I saw that something about that song on his Twitter, so I played it that day on the show.
I am the man.
Yes.
Anyways, why don't we bring the man on the show now? We are now talking to co-author and Incredible Baseball Stats, Ryan Spaeder. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I really appreciate you having me on. Sorry, I've been so difficult to get a hold of.
Well, I'm sorry to have you on a little bit later. We had some technical difficulties on the other side with our Jets insider, Chris Nimbley, but we're very happy to have you on. I never got a chance to read your book. Speedy told me we were going to have you on today, and it's interesting with baseball and these new stats. I mean, WAR and all this crazy stuff. It's really changed the game. And And now it's really changed the way, baseball is played with power and average and then shifting, which thank God is going to be gone now with baseball. Tell us a little bit about how you decided to get involved with a book like this, and really when you started writing, what was the back end of all this, working with your counterpartner?
Oh man, dude, this goes way back to when I was at Penn State. I realized, it was even before I was at Penn State. I realized, dude, you're probably not going to be a big league ball player. And it really sunk in even harder when I was at Penn State and I got cut from the club baseball team. And I was like, damn, I gotta figure out a way I'm going to be involved with the game in some other way, because it's not going to be playing. I've got to accept that. And I had a professor, Daniel Goldstein at Penn State, and he was a stat and economics professor, and he would always use baseball in his examples. And I was good at this stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is it. I can figure this stuff out by the numbers. And it took me a little while to figure out exactly how that would be. But it was 2012 when Cliff Lee went 6-9, and everybody's losing their mind in Philadelphia, as Philadelphia fans are known to do. Everybody's losing their mind because Cliff Lee's finished. He's done. But I'm looking at these numbers and I'm like, whoa, wait a second. He just didn't get any run support. So I'm trying to figure out, how can I show these guys that Cliff Lee actually had a great season? And finally I come across it. I'm like, Cliff Lee, he actually becomes the first player with 200 strikeouts and 30 or fewer walks in a season, 2012, since Cy Young in 1905. Wow. And I'm like, dude, this is money. So I start calling into all the Philadelphia radio stations, sports radio stations that I listen to, and start trying to talk these numbers with them. And as soon as you start talking numbers as a caller, they tend to hang up on you, as I'm sure you know. Mm-hmm. And so I kept getting hung up on it. And I'm finally like, you know what? I got to figure out how I'm going to disseminate this stuff. And I started a Twitter to do it. Now, the irony is today I do regular spots on those same Philadelphia radio shows that I was getting kicked off of. But through all this stuff, I started to Twitter, and then eventually I started doing some freelance work for some other writers. And eventually NBC Sports reaches out to me, and they're like, hey, we'd love to have you write for us. And I was like, hey, no, I'm not a writer. I'm not doing that stuff. And they're like, look, we really love the numbers you put out there. I think it'd be important for you to start having your own byline. And I'm like, I don't really care what you think. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna make a jackass out of myself by doing that. And finally, they convinced me. They're like, "Look, we got editors. They'll open up their veins all over your work, and they'll make you look great." And I'm like, "All right, that's I'll give it a shot." Wrote a piece on Mike Trout. Now, keep in mind, this is about 5 years into the thing. Wrote a piece on Mike Trout, and I got $65 for it. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, dude, you're getting paid to talk about baseball now. You're a big shot, right? And then eventually I only wrote 2 or 3 articles for NBC Sports, and Sporting News picked me up, and they were like, oh, we'd love to have you do some of the stuff for Sporting News. And then eventually I got picked up by the Buffalo News, and that's an entire another story, because I covered the Bills as a beat writer for them for a year. I didn't care about the Bills, but they were. I was in the Marine Corps at the time, and they're paying me more than I was making in the Marines. And I was like, "Yeah, this is great." So the book, I got to the point where I was like, you're not a terrible writer, I guess, and you got all the numbers. You've got a huge index of tons and tons of stats that other people hadn't come up with before. Why don't we put it in a book? And I had a friend whose buddy had written a book, and I asked him to introduce me. We eventually got together, having a couple beers, which ended up being 12 or 13, as Philadelphia people are wont to do. And we're just talking baseball stats all night. He's blown away, and he was a pretty talented writer. So he was like, dude, I love your idea, and I understand if you want to do it solo, but I'd love to be a part of this if you're cool with it. And I'm like, yeah, why not? More the merrier. So Kevin Reevy and I did this thing together. We wrote the first one, had it forwarded by Wade Boggs, which is again an entire another story. And then we ended up doing a second one together, and we had it forward again by Boggs, and then also Lance McCullers Jr. We got Rock Raines involved, Larry Walker involved, Edgar Martinez, Brian Kenny. We had a lot of people involved. It was a really cool project, and probably something we'll continue to do every few years.
So what are some of those stats that are in those books that you've researched, both either historical or even just with current players, that a lot of people wouldn't expect? Like if they read it, they would be blown away by that kind of thing.
Well, it depends the way that you're looking at it. So you get a lot of things like to start a career, first 100 games, who reach base in the most in their first 100 games. And you get a name like Logan Morrison, and people are like, what? You got Logan Morrison up there with Ted Williams and stuff. It just shows that guys can come out to a really hot start in their career. And then things on my personal favorite, Wade Boggs, who I really only remember the end of his career. Right. But I looked at his batting stance, and it was real similar to the batting stance of my old man who I'd been watching play baseball and then eventually softball when I was a kid. And so I watched Wade Boggs hit, and I looked at this guy in Marvel, and so I look up his numbers, and he had a season 1985 where he reached base in more games than any other player in a season in history, and he only failed to reach base in, I believe it was 6 games that season, and in 3 of those games he had reached on error, which should count, had an RBI, or had like a productive out in some other way. Right. And then, of course, you get the stats that everybody loves. The fact that Tony Gwynn could go 0 for 1,071, or 1,171 and still have a lifetime batting average of 300. Barry Bonds once had 80 home runs over the span of 160 games. That's one of my famous stats, because I did it on karaoke one time and it blew up because Barstool got their hands on it and everybody was attacking me because I'm the bad stats man who ruined karaoke. I thought it was hilarious personally, but you go in there and it's just telling stories by the numbers. I go back to Wade Boggs, and one of my favorite things that I've done is I went to the Hall of Fame for the first time when Tim Raines got inducted. He was kind enough to invite me to his induction. I've since been invited to a couple of them. Edgar Martinez, Larry Walker. It's been these guys who just appreciate the campaigns that I'll run by the numbers for them, because I believe they belong in the Hall of Fame. But Wade Boggs, of course, he's been in the Hall of Fame for a long time. First ballot Hall of Famer. I go to his plaque and I'm reading through it and I'm like, something ain't right here. And it said that Wade Boggs had reached base safely in 80% of his games played. And I'm doing some quick math. Wade Boggs played 2,440 games in his career. This means he failed to reach base in 488. Wrong. There's no way that's true. Sure enough, I figured out that Wade Boggs actually reached base in 85.2% of his career games played.
Wow.
And that 5.2% of games played represents 123 games that the Baseball Hall of Fame is egregiously leaving off of his plaque. That's a season, man. So I wrote the Hall of Fame a really long email about why it was incorrect and how they should correct it. And it took them months, but eventually they got back to me, and it was just a picture of how they updated the plaque and thanking me for the effort that I had made in finding the error.
Look at you, man. Look at you.
Changing, it's fun
changing
stuff.
lives.
Love the numbers.
We are talking to co-author of incredible baseball stats, Ryan Spaeder. We look at all these stats, Ryan, and everything in sports has to do with stats. I mean, in basketball, they're trying to compare everybody to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player ever. But if you look at stats, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player ever. But Michael Jordan was a completely different, player, was a different game when Michael Jordan was playing. So you can't compare and contrast the game, what it was in the 80s and the 90s into what it is today, which I think is girl basketball. And what I mean by that is you can't even put your fingers on them before you go into the foul line. But what is your thoughts of the game now? When you look at all these different statistics that they brought into the game, the wars, everybody's trying to compare defense to offense, and everybody talks about Mike Trout. This is why Mike Trout's the greatest baseball player in the game. Does this surprise you on the different statistics that they brought into the game ever since Moneyball really came into the game?
So I'm going to say something that oftentimes when I tell people this, it surprises them. I do appreciate baseball by the numbers. I appreciate analytics a great deal. I think there's a great place in baseball for analytics. However, that's not what's playing the game. We don't play baseball on a spreadsheet. We don't play baseball with Python. We play baseball on a field. And I think the best example of this and the best example of analytics as a failure, where you have to also go with the eye test, you have to use gut instinct from time to time, is Gabe Kapler. Gabe Kapler, as a manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, was using just the spreadsheet, just the Python code, just the graphics, the infographics, and the heat maps. That was it. And he failed. He fell flat on his face. Now, fortunately for him, the Giants gave him a chance. And fortunately for him as well, is he's not a stubborn fool. He learned from his mistakes. Now, he still implements the analytical side and still preaches analytics to his players and uses his analytics team. However, he has since learned that, hey, sometimes you bring in a lefty to face 2 lefties or 3 lefties, and he strikes out maybe 3 guys on 10 pitches, and then you got a righty up. Maybe this guy just has good stuff tonight, and maybe we should stick with him, because sometimes, even though the numbers say something else, what the eyes see is what is real at that moment. And sometimes a guy just has stuff, and it doesn't matter who's up there. Mike Trout, doesn't matter. He's up there, and he's going to have his best stuff. And sometimes you just got to ride with the guy who has his best stuff on a particular night.
So you actually had a lot of different articles on the Hall of Fame, a lot of the players that you think should get in, especially underrated ones, including Jimmy Rollins was one, Scott Rowland, that you mentioned you were watching as a kid a lot. So go through some of those underrated players that you think deserve it and some of the data that you used in those kinds of instances. Jimmy Rollins was especially that very interesting one over Omar Vizquel.
So it's funny you bring up Omar. You know what? First, let me start with this is I've actually caught some heat, especially from some of your BBWAA members, which I'm not allowed to be in that club. I've been never officially denied membership because I qualify for it, so they won't officially deny it. But they don't like me, so I'm not allowed to be in the club. And the heat that I've caught is, well, what are you doing preaching Tim Raines' Hall of Fame case? Did you even see him play most of his career? And one guy even said to me, well, you served in the United States Marine Corps, and Tim Raines played the majority of his career in Canada. How the hell can you advocate for him as a Hall of Famer? And I'm like, this stuff is ridiculous. I believe in baseball history, and I think that the Hall of Fame is a baseball history museum. So I want really good baseball history in it. And I look at Tim Raines, the thing that I often get from people about that one is, hey, he was an Expos player and this, that, and the other. The reason I like Tim Raines, and I only saw the tail end of his career, is again because my father watched him wreak havoc on the base paths against the Phillies and others in the 80s and preached the way that Tim Raines played the game. He got that nickname Rock for 2 reasons. All we know one of them, but he also got the nickname because of how hard he played the game. And that's the way that I was taught how to play the game, was the way that Tim Raines played the game. Cool thing to mention on that is the first time I ever spoke with Tim Raines, when I wrote one of those articles, I said to him, hey, Rock, I only saw the tail end of your career, because I get to call him Rock now because we're boys after one conversation that we spoke for a good hour and a half. But I get to call him Rock. So, hey, Rock, my father is the one who actually saw all your career, and he told me about how you played the game and preached that's how you're supposed to play the game. You mind saying hello to my dad? And he was like, sure, Ryan, I'd love to talk to your dad. He talked to my father longer than he talked to me, and he just got off the phone with me for an hour and a half. Anyway, though, I look at the game by the numbers in hindsight. And for Tim Raines, for example, what kept him out of the Hall of Fame was Rickey Henderson. He was second to Rickey Henderson for his career. And to me, I look at this like there's no shame. There's no crime in not being the greatest of all time. We don't say you can't be in the Hall of Fame if you don't have the numbers like Babe Ruth and Ted Williams and Willie Mays, and that's it. Those are the only guys who are going to be in. There's a standard that you must meet, and the standard is not the single greatest of all time. It's maybe the top 1.5%, top 2% players ever. And that is what Tim Raines was. And then we go to somebody like Edgar Martinez. Edgar Martinez was kept out of the Hall of Fame because he was a DH.
Catastrophe,
now,
by the way.
Absolute disaster. Now, he was a designated hitter for 70% of his
I'm sorry
career.
to cut you off. How is David Ortiz? How does David Ortiz go to the Hall of Fame over Edgar Martinez? Edgar Martinez has been the best DH in baseball history since the DH even came into the game. And David Ortiz, who, by the way, did steroids and has been proven to do steroids, still gets in as a first ballot. And Edgar Martinez waited years. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer, hands down the best DH we've ever seen. The fact that he never got in as a first ballot is a catastrophe, an absolute. I don't even want to say it on live air because I'm going to throw myself under the bus with some of the curse words I can add to this. But Edgar Martinez is the first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree. But I will say I put no. Yeah, there you go. A little flex action. I see. Maybe Big Papi ain't the only one. Yeah, Edgar absolutely belonged, and I think the fact that he waited was simply for the fact that there was going to be a delay on allowing a designated hitter to actually get in, which is complete BS because, we let closers into the Hall of Fame. And these guys, I don't understand that. Like, you look at Trevor Hoffman, for example.
I was just about to say Trevor Hoffman.
I don't want to talk smack on Mariano Rivera with that accent of yours, but we go Trevor Hoffman, and you look at his career numbers. Brandon Webb, as a starter, pitched more innings and was a better pitcher overall. But nobody's saying Brandon Webb belongs in a Hall of Fame. You probably could have thrown Brandon Webb out there in the 9th inning 700 times, and he probably would have been pretty freaking good. The fact of the matter is, most relievers, even the great Mariano Rivera, are failed starters. Mariano Rivera didn't hack it as a starter. Fortunately, he figured out that cutter, and he became the greatest. I hate the term closer. I don't believe in closers. He became the greatest relief pitcher of all time. And but the fact remains true is these positions, these things that BBWAA doesn't really, and they really hold the keys to the gate. It's aggravating to me, but the things that they don't really understand, they tend to overvalue to try to get ahead of the curve. They did this in the 80s when they were handing out Cy Youngs and MVPs even to Raleigh Fingers, to Willie Hernandez, all these relief pitchers winning these awards. Why? Because they led the league in saves and you don't understand it. So that's really cool. And then up until this year, when Omar Vizquel had that controversy and stuff, they're going to vote him into the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he was a great defensive shortstop. Yeah, he was one of the greatest all-time defensive shortstops. But when you look at the numbers, in the example of Jimmy Rollins, there's a law of diminishing marginal returns when you go from great shortstop defensively to all-time great. You are not adding that much value. It's not the same amount of value that you're adding when you go from average fielding to great fielding, going from great fielding to all-time great. There's only so much value you can possibly add. And the fact is, when you look at Omar Vizquel and Jimmy Rollins, well, Omar was slightly better on defense. Jimmy was a great defender. Omar sucked at offense. And Jimmy Rollins had an offensive stretch there that led him to an MVP award. He's one of the better offensive shortstops of a generation. And nobody's going to say he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I even went on to say that Placido Polanco is more deserving of the Hall of Fame than Omar Vizquel. Wow. You got to be kidding me, Omar Vizquel as a Hall of Famer. It's a disgrace, and I really wish he didn't have that controversy. First of all, because it's really messed up what he's accused of doing. But let accusations go, and we'll see what happens. But I really wish none of that happened, because I would love for BBWAA to make a mistake again so I can call them out on it, because I love doing that.
They made a mistake with Lee Smith. They made a mistake with Lee Smith too.
Because they didn't understand. They don't understand the value of defense. Nobody does. And anybody who says they understand the value of defense is lying. Every single year, the formula for defensive run saved, it runs from fielding and UZR and defensive WAR. Every single year, the formulas change as we begin to learn more and more, and they will continue to change. So we'll even wins above replacement. You go to Barry Bonds' page this year and go into that time machine website. He has a different WAR now than he did 5 years ago. How is that possible? He hasn't been playing. Oh, it's because the formulas change and we don't fully understand this stuff. And at least I'm willing to admit that, hey, we don't really completely understand this stuff yet. So maybe we got to apply it at face value sometimes.
This is my last question. You look at Barry Bonds, you look at Roger Clemens, you look at Alex Rodriguez. They were accused of doing steroids. Barry Bonds, before he even did steroids, was a Hall of Famer. 400 home runs, 400 stolen bases. Before he even looked like he was, sticking himself in the ass. Okay. Roger Clemens, before he left the Boston Red Sox, was a Hall of Famer. And even Alex Rodriguez, before this whole thing came out in Texas, he was on his way to be a Hall of Famer. Do you think Barry Bonds is being held up by the major leagues and Roger Clemens being held up by the major leagues because of this steroid thing is right for what they're doing? Or do you believe that they should be in the Hall of Fame and they should just have an asterisk on their name because they did steroids?
No, it's a catastrophe. Throw away the asterisk talk because these guys did nothing wrong. Major League Baseball is the only one who's at fault here. Major League Baseball, time and time again, skirts all responsibility. This is another reason why I'm hated by BWAA, because I always call out Major League Baseball. 1985 Pittsburgh drug trials with all the guys using cocaine, right? Major League Baseball said, we're not responsible for any of this stuff. We don't look, we got there's a trial on it, right? And then you go to the steroid controversy. Well, Major League Baseball didn't want to test for anything. They didn't put anything in the collective bargaining agreement about testing. So what did guys do? Oh, well, they used the things that Major League Baseball said they didn't say you could use, but they didn't say you couldn't not use them, right? So, I mean, it's a complete disaster when you look at the thing as a whole. I mean, it continues till today. It's really aggravating to me because the whole thing with the Astros cheating scandal, I'm sorry. I have to say this time and time again. I'm sure you've seen me go on rants about it on Twitter. And the whole thing blew up with the New York Post because I had to apologize because lawyers came after me about how I came out with all the other information I knew about other teams cheating, right? Well, they did. And everybody knows it, right? And then the Major League Baseball purchased Rawlings, and suddenly the baseball all of a sudden starts flying. And now this season, all of a sudden, the baseball's dead. And guess what's going to happen here in a couple of weeks? It's going to start flying again. I guarantee it. Start betting the overs, boys. But I'm telling you, Major League Baseball is at fault for everything, and they constantly skirt any and all responsibility. Manfred has been at the forefront of the steroid controversy, but Bud Selig gets blamed for that. And it's also his fault. But Manfred was at the forefront of that. So was George Mitchell, Senator George Mitchell. In fact, the Mitchell report didn't name a single player on the Red Sox. Guess what team George Mitchell happened to work for? To me, that throws out any value of that report because he's clearly picking and choosing who he wants to finger in this thing. And it's just this is a disaster when Major League Baseball enabled it and then says, Mark McGwire, you're not getting the Hall of Fame. Mark McGwire deserves a damn statue outside of that Hall of Fame. I don't care about the plaque. Give him a statue because he saved baseball. Oftentimes when I say that, people bring up Sammy Sosa. Sosa wasn't a part of that home run race until June 1998, and that was the most exciting thing I've ever seen in baseball. But Mark McGwire was chasing that record in 95, 96, 97, and he was bound to get there, and he did. And Major League Baseball ensured that he did. And once they got what they needed from McGwire and Barry Bonds, they said, get the hell out of here. We had enough of you, and now we're going to blame you for tarnishing our sport. It's complete crap. There were no rules in place that prevented players from doing any of these things. And then on top of it, the fact is people don't understand what steroids do. Steroids don't, sure, they make you stronger, right? But being stronger does not mean you're going to hit home runs. It doesn't. What it does is just allow you to be at 100% for a longer period of your season. So Mark McGwire was out there hitting 70 home runs, not because he was all of a sudden this massive dude and could swing the bat a million miles an hour. No, he's had stretches in his career long before that when he was skinny McGwire.
His rookie season had 15 home runs.
Yeah. So Barry Bonds had stretches where he had numbers just like he did in 01, 03, 02, 03, 04. But all of a sudden, those stretches become the duration of the season because they have the endurance to do it for 162 games. And the last thing I got to say about steroids, it drives me nuts because fans are so ignorant as to what steroids do. They think you take steroids, you're automatically hitting home runs, or if you're hitting home runs, you're automatically taking steroids. Guess what? Here's your clip for the show. I took steroids. I hit 0 home runs. I still sucked at baseball. I couldn't hit a ball 350 feet, let alone 550. All right. It didn't do anything for me other than give me a massive bench press. That's it.
So one more question for me. By the way, before I get to that, you mentioned you were a Marine. I'll salute your service.
Thank you.
That's all right, man.
So a couple questions ago, you were mentioning how a lot of these closers were kind of overrated getting into the Hall of Fame type thing. I actually, a couple of years ago, said I had a theory, the way analytics were going, that the pure closer will die out in 5 to 7 years with the analytics, where they're putting positionally best positions in the best relief pitchers in different parts of the game. Where do you stand on that potential type of thing?
I think it's already happening, and I think you were ahead of the curve on that one. You know what? You should make fun of BBWA just like I do, because they always seem to know what's happening before
you gotta
it
listen
happens.
to our show,
and yet they're always wrong. It's amazing to me. Like it's just this group, the old boys club, BBWA. It drives me nuts. I'll have to send you guys some of the emails that I've sent these people about why I should be in, because I qualify based on their very rules. I contributed to. Last year I think I contributed to 18 of 30 team broadcasts, which is exactly something that gives you the right to be a member of BBWA. I was credentialed by I think 8 different teams to go to games as a media member, but no, you don't quite. Clearly, I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about this, but no, I really think you're exactly right. We see some of the best relievers coming in. I think the first time we really saw this was, I want to say, the 2017 postseason, where you're seeing teams' best relievers coming into the 4th inning, and it's in the postseason. Why is this? Well, this is because when the games matter the most. So logically, the only thing that's going to follow from there is that teams figure out, okay, if it works in the postseason, well, we're playing the best teams in the game. Well, maybe this is a concept that we could apply throughout the entire season. I wouldn't even be surprised at all if in the future we see a team that tries to do something like you have no starters. You have 3-inning guys, right? And you throw a pitcher out there for 3 innings, then he's done. Another pitcher for 3, he's done. Pitcher for the last 3, he's done. And then it's their turn 3 days later. And you end up seeing a guy who gets, over the course of 162 games, 54 starts, but he only throws 162 innings because he's only throwing 3 innings per. I wouldn't at all be surprised that that's something we see as baseball people become smarter and smarter about the game.
Just so you know, we talk about all the commissioners in professional sports on this show, and we throw them all under the bus. So there's nothing new about that. If you listen to our show, we don't care who's listening or what anybody is saying. They can hate us. We throw everybody under the bus if we have to, because we are honest and we don't hold back. Everything that we say is straightforward from our hearts and what we think. Just because, hey, you know what? People don't like us or people disagree with us, we're gonna spit out what we believe in. And I've said it all along. Rob Manfred is the worst commissioner in professional sports. The guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. What they're doing to Pete Rose is a catastrophe. It's just stupid. People bet on sports now. It's legalized here in New York. But hey, you know what? If Derek Jeter's doing that now that he's retired, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he was he was a coach or a manager in the league and he was betting against the team that they were beating, that's why he's not in the Hall. It doesn't make sense. And then there are guys like David Ortiz that's in the Hall of Fame when he admitted to doing steroids. So it PEDs, whatever the hell he did, okay? It's ridiculous. He's a first ballot Hall of Fame when Barry Bonds is a way better player than he would ever think to be. And Barry Bonds is never going to go into the Hall of Fame, and he is arguably the greatest baseball player to ever play this game. So it doesn't make sense. Rob Manfred's a moron. Bud Selig, go sell another damn car over there in Cincinnati or wherever the hell you're from, you moron, okay? That's what baseball. And by the way, why isn't George Steinbrenner in the Hall of Fame? I wonder. Is it hatred for the Yankees, or is it just hatred that he went to he was suspended from baseball for 2 years because of what he did? And by the way, he changed baseball. He made baseball for what it is today. So kiss my ass. How's that sound?
Hey, I'm all about it. You guys are gonna have to have me back because I love this passion and this trashing of, or thrashing, I'll even say, of Robert D. Manfred, who I also am not a huge fan of, as you've seen here. And to be honest, the thing that I'm most pissed about Manfred is the fact that that 2020 postseason that they had with the different playoff format, that was mine. They freaking stole it word for word from me. Wow. And then I get no credit at all. And then they're going to blacklist me from MLB Network and stuff. I'm not allowed to do that stuff anymore. And the writers aren't allowed to credit me or talk to me or anything. Screw you.
It's not even worth it. Anyways, this is the problem with professional sports. Whenever they have something to say, they'll throw you under the bus. And when they have nothing to say about you, they'll find a story to say something about you. That's what professional sports is. It's a oxymoronic, stupid, bullcrap organization. And all of them, NFL, NBA, NHL, they're all. Gary Bettman, idiot. Bud Selig, idiot. Roger Goodell, idiot. Adam Silver lets LeBron James run the friggin' league, idiot. They're all
screw LeBron James. Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. I know you said earlier, Jordan's the best.
Jordan's the greatest athlete I've ever seen play professional sports, and that's coming from Wayne Gretzky, Muhammad Ali. Anybody says Muhammad Ali was a great boxer. I don't even think he's the greatest boxer I've ever seen. But anyways, that's
Mike Tyson's the best. Come on,
Mike Tyson's the greatest knockout boxer I've ever seen. I think the greatest boxer I've ever seen, like with my eyes, at the top of his game, I would say Sugar Ray Leonard was the best I've seen, like with my own eyes. But Oscar Robertson, there was Joe Frazier. There were so many good fighters. So they don't get any credit because we never got a chance to see them. Anyways, we are talking to co-author Incredible Baseball Stats, Ryan Spaeder. Ryan, we really appreciate you joining us. We definitely want to get you on again. Listen, you can come on whenever you want and bash baseball. It doesn't matter to us.
Oh, we're hoping you overtake all the Hall of Fame writers at this rate.
I appreciate it, guys.
Why don't we write a book about that?
Yeah, that's great. Well, I appreciate it. I'll definitely jump back on soon. I hope so.
Get the old guys out of Baseball Hall of Fame writing for the voting. We need you on that panel.
I'll tell you what. Next time we jump on, we'll have to grab a beer together. It will really get it going then.
Oh, absolutely. We really appreciate all the time that you gave us tonight, and we'll get you on. Speedy will reach out to you, and we'll be communicating with you. We really appreciate everything.
All right, take it easy, guys. You have a great night. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Ryan Spaeder, Incredible Baseball Stats. Go get his book. It came out in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. His first book. He has 2 books out. Great guy. And he's spoken, he's soft-spoken, and I agree with him. A lot of things that he said about baseball, and Rob Manfred's an idiot. Theo Epstein should get the job in 2024. I hope baseball's actually smart enough to get this guy out of office because he's a moron, and he's hurt the game of baseball. He hasn't made it better. So, and Bud Selig obviously picked his apprentice to take over. And Bud Selig, go sell a car or something, man. You're an absolute jackass. You ruined baseball. You turn your head when they were taking steroids. Now all of a sudden, everybody taking steroids, it helped baseball. I've told everybody this. Baseball players, any athletes, they should be allowed to do steroids. If they want to hurt their bodies, that's their decision, not yours. It doesn't make you see the ball. It doesn't.
Yeah, didn't you say anything besides combat sports for your steroid?
Exactly. The only two sports I keep steroids away from is combat sports, boxing, mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, because that's dangerous. You could kill somebody by, if I'm taking steroids and I'm a little bit stronger than you, and I'm throwing more punches or I'm throwing harder punches than you, I could kill you with those. So baseball, you're smacking a ball. Football is dangerous too, and hockey's dangerous too. But you have referees. You have control of that.
You also have padding on that. You don't have padding with the MMA stuff.
No. Well, no, you don't. But that's just a whole nother story.
I mean, there's always going to be like creases where you're going to be hit in like hockey. If you're a goalie, like the puck can still get you on the neck or something. If you get hit, something like that. In football, same kind of thing. There are cracks in the helmet too. The creases that you can knock the guy out and give him a concussion. Yeah,
it's horrible how a lot of these athletes are held out of the Hall of Fame because they did steroids.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are players right now in the Hall of Fame because they did steroids. Chris Bagwell is in He is in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame. He made it, I think, on the second try or something.
Jeff Bagwell did steroids, and there's no question. Mike Piazza. I know Met fans don't want to hear this, but there are rumors. So many times, so many people said that Mike Piazza, before he even went to the Mets, was on steroids. I mean, he had zits all over his back. There were stories coming out from players in the locker room. Now that doesn't mean he was on steroids, but anybody knows one of the symptoms of doing steroids is zits on your back. So so that doesn't mean that he did it, but again, I'm willing to bet that he did. Okay, but he's in the Hall of Fame. But then you have Alex Rodriguez will never see a day in the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he did steroids?
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest baseball players ever to play, and he'll never see the Hall of Fame. How could you do that to a player that really helped the game of baseball? Barry Bonds helped the game of baseball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And Ryan was even mentioning some of the things too. There's like even a lot more, I guess, I don't want to say politics, but there's like a lot of like connections that these writers have. He was mentioning the Senator George Mitchell, who worked with the Red Sox. Like, yeah, there's going to be some bias to getting David Ortiz in comparison to somebody with David Ortiz's identical numbers and not on the Red Sox.
In the Hall of Fame. How the hell is that man in the Hall of Fame when he has been obviously caught doing PEDs?
Yeah, and again, he is a Hall of Famer, but the fact that it took Edgar Martinez until like his third or second to last try to get in, and he's just as good is mind-blowing.
I'm not saying David Ortiz isn't a nice guy. I'm not saying David Ortiz isn't one of the greatest playoff players to ever play the game. Absolutely is. Nobody's taking that away from what he has done. I mean, he was special. But to say that David Ortiz was better or is excused for doing PEDs than Barry Bonds, who, by the way, before he even did PEDs, was a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Okay? It's ridiculous. Why? Because the league doesn't like him?
Yeah.
Because they didn't
That's what I'm saying.
him?
They have this particular connection, some bias, something that drives on the narrative of why certain guys will get in first. And baseball's just always been so stingy.
Why is Bud Selig in the Hall of Fame? Why is that moron in the Hall of Fame when he allowed steroids to be used in baseball?
Yeah,
Answer that question.
No, again, it makes no sense. Like it's hypocritical at this point to just, I guess, drive certain players down and then favor others that did the same exact thing. It doesn't make any sense. David Ortiz is a Hall of Famer, yes, but why is Edgar Martinez struggling to get in?
Who cares about that? Why is Barry Bonds not in the Hall of Fame? Why is Barry Bonds not in the Hall of Fame and David Ortiz is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Why is I don't know, Jeff Bagwell in the Hall of Fame and Roger Clemens isn't? Okay. It doesn't make sense. You want to put an asterisk, and even you heard what Ryan said.
Yeah, don't put an asterisk.
Don't put an asterisk because they allowed it.
Mm-hmm.
They allowed the game to have it, and it doesn't make you any better than you would to see the ball. Now, obviously, amphetamines have been in baseball for forever.
Yeah.
Amphetamines have been in baseball. You're going to tell me that in the 60s and the 70s, they didn't use amphetamines? Ted Williams didn't use amphetamines to be a better player? He could have.
Yeah.
Nobody would know because there was no drug testing.
Right.
So why is it that baseball, and by the way, he's right. Mark McGwire did save baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He did. He absolutely saved baseball when baseball was falling apart after the strike in 1996 or 94. 94. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely falling apart. Baseball was the number one sport in sports in '94, as you saw it transition into football.
Because the NFL had 2 strikes too in the '80s too. They had one in '81 that would cut the
Baseball
season
was
short.
number one.
Yeah, and then they had another one too. I think '87 or '88 or something like that. And baseball was really striving at that point too. But then football took over after that, and it just really has run away with it. And now baseball has really just struggled to get its image back, even over the NBA. The NBA surpassed it now in popularity too. Probably since I would say 2010 or something like that.
All right, put him on.
Jeff is back.
No one cares about baseball. You're missing the whole thing. The Celtics just absolutely roasted the Heat. Just absolutely. Marcus Smart dropping, what did he have, 30 points tonight? What did Marcus Smart have, 1 billion? And played great defense? He absolutely stuffed Jimmy Butler into a mayonnaise jar and threw him onto the bench. See you later for the fourth quarter, Jimmy Butler. Have a seat.
Yeah, Marcus
Dan
Smart
Adebayo's got nothing.
Marcus Smart near triple-double, 24 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds.
Look at that.
That's right. Playoff MVP, Marcus Smart.
Oh, here we go.
This is why I need a $1,200 Dior shirt. Did you see what he had on the bench? Or a $2,100 Dior shirt, right? Comes out in game 2 and roasts Miami on the road. Roasts them.
As everybody knows, we're talking to a fan favorite, Jeff. As Snug says, he loves this man. What a
true gentleman.
Yes, a true gentleman.
Jason Tatum absolutely ripping it tonight. Jaylen Brown on fire. Oh, just 68-year-old Al Horford bottling up Bam Adebayo tonight. Woof. What a performance.
Well,
and taking back home court away from Miami. How you doing?
Well, again, it's the second game. I expected the Celtics to come out a little bit stronger than.
First of all, even if you said, "Oh, I expected the Celtics to win,"
I didn't say the one. I didn't say
up 35.
I didn't expect them to win. I didn't say that. I expected the Celtics to come back a lot stronger than they looked in game number 1. Remember, they got smashed up in game number 1. Now the Miami
lost by 8.
But the whole game that we're being smashed up around, okay? They were at one point, they were down 25 in the game.
They were down 20. No, they were down 21 and came and cut it to 14 or something going into the 4th.
Right.
And they lost by 8.
All right, that's still a lot in the NBA playoffs.
They just roasted.
I know. I
Miami
know.
By 35.
I know.
They lost by 8 shorthanded. No Marcus Smart, no Al Horford. Boom, we get those guys back. It's not even close. Not even close.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens in game number 3.
The best defensive team, maybe in the history of the league.
I love it.
Maybe in the history of the league. Listen, you're laughing. How often do you see teams like this where like Rob Williams is? Say what you want about Rob Williams, but he's been terrific. He guards the rim. He's the inside presence. Right? You have a guard who's your defensive player of the year, even though he's not even a top 10 defender in the league. Got it.
First guard since Gary Payton.
Right. You got Grant Williams, who just shut down Giannis. He's out there too. Tatum can play defense. Jaylen Brown can play defense. This team's hard to beat, not because they have a collection of great players, but they're playing as a team, and they just roasted Miami. Roasted them.
Again, it's still tied 1-1. Let's see what happens later as the series progressively moves forward into the Boston. And I expect
Celtics in 6.
Celtics in 6 by Jeff. I have Miami in 7.
I had Miami in 6 at the start.
I have Miami in 7.
That's not happening. We're going back to Boston 1-1, Speedy.
I said the Celtics would win game 2, though. I did. I think they'll split.
No way you could have predicted a blowout like
No,
this.
I did not expect a blowout.
Dude,
No, I did not.
With 9 minutes left in the game, they put their bottom 5
I love
players
Snug.
in.
Anything that Jeff says, he agrees with. I love it.
No, I said the first 4 games are going to be a pattern, and then Miami would win the last 2. Was the way I was thinking, because Miami is not they're a good home crowd. I wouldn't say they're like the stifling home crowd, and the Celtics definitely have a very strong.
Miami's
home
a pretty
crowd.
good away team.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Miami is a very good away team, though,
But
too.
they're going to be playing in a rowdy Boston.
Oh, they are.
Garden.
Oh, yeah, no
Rowdy.
question.
I listen. I expect this series to go 7. I picked Miami to win in 7, but who knows? It could be the Celtics. So I expect, honestly, whoever comes out of the East could win the whole thing. I I don't trust that Dallas is going to be able to hold up against Golden State. And Golden State, there's a lot of things about Golden State I don't like. And
actually, their depth might be the most concerning of the 4 teams left. Golden State, because they're really reliant on 3 players.
I mean, Boston is just the center of the sports universe. Okay, sure, the Bruins got knocked out in the first round to a very good Carolina team. Boston is roasting Miami in the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston has a player who Errol said, no good. He hit 3 home runs tonight. 3 home runs for Trevor Story.
Oh, wow.
Overpaid bum.
Trevor Story. I never said he was a bum, okay?
Oh, I love Josh Donaldson better than Trevor Story. Yeah, how many home runs Donaldson hit tonight? Because Story had a hat trick.
A hat trick, okay? A twick, not a trick.
Oh, that's right. I got to talk like the bees. It's the referees.
Snuck says David Ortiz won a World Series almost by himself. Snuck, we are not saying David Ortiz is not a Hall of Famer.
We're not saying he's not a Hall of Famer.
We're just saying it took Edward Martinez forever.
We've not said, but if David Ortiz gets into the Hall of Fame, so should Barry Bonds, so should Roger Clemens. That's it.
I think but I think the problem with the whole thing is technically David Ortiz didn't test positive. Those other guys did test positive. Now listen, do I think Ortiz took steroids? Yeah, I do. So but I'm just telling you there's a difference between him not technically testing positive and those other guys. I mean, dude, they were on cycle after cycle, like it was just nonstop. Do you know what I'm saying? And the way that Barry Bonds just treated people during that time, look, Ryan Braun took him and was like, oh, no, I didn't take him. And then he got caught and he was like, yeah, I'm an idiot. I took him.
And then everyone hated him, yes.
Look, I'll give you another example of a guy that took steroids, is an idiot, in Andy Pettit. But Andy Pettit sat down in front of the media and was like, look, man, I'm an idiot. I made a mistake. So people forgive Andy Pettit. Barry Bonds told everyone else on the planet they were an asshole for even insinuating he did anything. And I think that's the part that gets him in trouble. If he had just said, yeah, I did it, people would probably look past it and go, screw it. He was a Hall of Famer before the steroids when he was skinny. Right? But instead, he just went after anyone and everyone that said he did it. And that's not the way to go about things.
Yeah, Snug also says the same thing. How you treat people matters. Bonds is an ass. A-Rod was a huge ass, and not hard to figure out why Ortiz gets a pass. He's kind and everybody loves him. Yes, Snug, I know the writers don't work for MLB.
Hold on 1 second. How is A-Rod an ass? What besides?
Let's go back to that.
Okay.
Did A-Rod do steroids?
Yes.
Twice, yeah.
Right. But he had a meeting with the commissioner, threw his briefcase at the commissioner, walked out of the meeting, and then walked straight up to the radio station and said, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I didn't do any. And did he do it? Yeah. He threw a tantrum. He's an idiot.
Okay.
And that's not the way to go about things.
But that doesn't make him an ass. He wasn't a bad person.
He is an ass. No, he is an ass for doing that. You don't make accusations at people that you know aren't. You ever see the documentary on Netflix, Screwball?
Yeah.
And how Alex Rodriguez tried to have people killed?
Yes.
But he's not an ass, but he's trying to kill people for the documents about how he did steroids. And you're like, oh, he's not an ass. No, he is. He's a full-blown jackass.
Snug, I know the MLB Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame writers are separate from the Major League office. We were just saying the writers in general have a very stingy problem compared to other sports. And a lot of it is because of these scandals.
He had people break into that tanning nuts car to steal the documents. He's literally committing breaking and entering.
Wow.
He's committing
You didn't even hear about this?
No, I didn't. I did not.
I did. And listen.
There's a whole documentary. Go watch Screwball on Netflix, and it's a little hokey. It's actually kind of funny because they have literally have children play like A-Rod and the other people in the film and stuff. So it's kind of funny, right? But
young double A-Rod.
Dude, it's really great. It's a really great thing, and they have the dude. They have the people that are like, yeah, I gave him the steroids.
Snug says A-Rod's arrogance is legendary. He's fun to watch. This team is special, I guess, referring to Story. The defense is, or he's referring to the Celtics again. The defense is smothering. Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. I can't wait to see what the parade's plans look like. It's going to be great.
Mark Jackson described the Celtics defense actually perfectly tonight. I respect Mark Jackson. He said, the Celtics defense are piranhas. One drop of blood hits the water and they all go crazy.
Oh, so it's basically Little Shop of Horrors with a whole basketball team.
I'm telling you, dude, listen, collectively, they're a very good defensive team.
Yeah, they are.
Nobody's saying that they're not, Jeff.
Now, who's a better rim defender? Maybe not score like all around, but who's a better rim defender in the league than Rob Williams?
Probably only Gobert, definitively.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Rob Williams is just an elite defensive rim presence. He go find out how many blocks he had tonight, Speedy. Had to be 4 or 5.
Well, I do want to finish up. I want to get into some baseball. I want to finish up with baseball with the.
You can start with Trevor Story's hat trick.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah, 3 blocks tonight. Yep.
Yeah, he was terrific tonight. Terrific. They should call themselves the Green Machine.
Okay. All right, they're going too far now. I want to get into this Max Scherzer thing. It's funny because I've been talking about Max Scherzer since the Mets gave him that extensive contract, and he became the highest paid player in Major League history over the summer after the strike, the lockout was over. Before the strike and the lockout, he got that money, and you look at Max Scherzer, and I think Max Scherzer is one of the best pitchers in baseball still. He is. But it seems like every single player that goes to the Mets never stays 100% healthy. And I said this to Met fans when they made this move to get Max Scherzer. Now, again, is it worth the chance, especially with an ability, a pitcher with this ability? Absolutely. Max Scherzer. And if your owner has that kind of money, you open up your pockets, you spend it. Because if Max Scherzer stays healthy, you're getting yourself a dominant force and a dominant pitcher. But again, Max Scherzer is 38 years old. He's 38. He's not 34. He's not 33 or 32. The guy is 38 years old. He's got a lot on that arm of his. And he's never had
a short contract. It's a
3 years.
3-year contract.
3 years.
3-year contract.
Yep. $43 million a year. $43 million a year.
You can't roast him. He's way outperforming the other highest paid pitcher in New York. Way outperforming him.
Who?
Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole right now he's
Kermit.
Garrett Cole right now has a 2.75 ERA. His WHIP is under 1. I mean,
and what's Scherzer's?
What is Scherzer's? Go find Scherzer's numbers. Garrett Cole has more strikeouts. I mean, is he out pitching Garrett Cole? He's not. Garrett Cole's 4-0. I mean, is he really playing better than Garrett Cole?
4-0. He got roasted the beginning part of the season. What did he get? No decisions?
The first 2 games.
The first 3 starts of the season were doggy.
First 2.5 games, by the way. What is Scherzer's number?
Scherzer is 5-1 with a 2.54 ERA. He struck out 59, whip of .946.
So the ERA is better than Cole's.
Yes, his ERA is better than Cole's. Yes, that's because
here we go. ERA is better.
You want me to go to Garrett Cole's numbers? I'll go to Garrett Cole's numbers because
so he's outperforming the other highest paid pitcher in New York.
Garrett Cole has 51 strikeouts. He has a whip of 1.08 and then a 2.89 ERA in 43 2/3 innings pitched. And Max Scherzer has pitched how many innings? Yeah, 49 2/3. So they're about the same amount of innings.
And Scherzer's got more strikeouts and a better ERA.
Yes.
There you have it. He's outperforming Garrett Cole. And if he was a Yankee,
Garrett Cole is making $33 million a year to 43.
Who cares what the money is?
It means a lot. And now Garrett Cole. By the way, hold on 1 second. By the way, he is out for 6 to 8 weeks, and Garrett Cole never gets hurt. He's always healthy. Okay, so what does that tell you? You're going to get more consistency from a younger pitcher who's going to be out on the mound and is going to help out this. Oh, by the way, the number 1 rotation in baseball. Okay, so say whatever you want.
Nestor Cortez.
Oh, Nestor Cortez.
Only because of Nestor Cortez.
Garrett Cole's pitching great this year. He's pitching great. So I don't know what
he got roasted in his first
fine. He
start.
got roasted in the first
Roasted.
2 or 3 games. That was because it was cold. Now it's getting warmer, and the guy has given up what 2 runs in his last 4 starts.
Roasted.
2 runs in his last 4
Absolutely
starts.
Roasted.
All right.
Well, good. He should, right? By your logic, he should pitch that great every time out.
Hey, listen.
If Scherzer was a Yankee, you'd be getting teabagged by him every night. You'd be like, "Oh God, Scherzer's so great.
No,
I love him so much."
Honestly,
No, Tyler would be.
I don't like Max Scherzer. So first of all, I didn't want Max Scherzer
There's
from the
nothing
beginning.
not to like about Max.
I don't
Scherzer.
like him. I don't
He's
like.
terrific.
Good. He's terrific. I don't like Max Scherzer. So there you go. So you're wrong. I'm not like all hippie on Max Scherzer. And by the way, Max Scherzer is 38 and this guy's 31. So say whatever you want about Garrett Cole and
The
stuff
age
like that.
doesn't matter. So
Age
that's
means
even
a lot in
more impressive.
baseball.
So he's outperforming him at an older age. Wow, that's crazy. Imagine if we had 35
Garrett
year-old.
Cole will be healthy all season long and he'll be up for a Cy Young this year.
Great.
Okay.
So it won't matter. The Mets are going to win the World Series this year.
Yeah, you want to bet on that?
No.
I already am. So
You want to bet on that? Because I tell you this right now, they're not. So
You don't know that.
I do.
Well, then you won't see the polar
I
bear
do.
tattoo.
Their bullpen is horrible, dude, and there's no way they're winning the World Series with that bullpen.
Yeah, but you want to know what? This is the problem with what you're doing.
Here
Oh,
we
there's
go.
no way they're
Here
winning.
we go.
There's a trade deadline. They can make moves and
Okay.
improve.
They better
And
make
we know
3 or
that.
4 of them. They better make 3 or 4 of them because they're going to need
Great.
it.
Well, maybe they'll move Dom Smith and get something for Dom Smith. He doesn't want to seem to be in Flushing, so maybe that'll happen, right?
What do
But
you think they're going to get for Dom Smith?
Dom Smith is a good player, man.
What do you think they're going to get for him?
I don't know, but they can get an effective reliever somewhere, somehow.
Yeah, there's a lot of player for player swaps.
All right. Right now, as of right now, Dominic Smith his WAR is negative. His at bats is 69. He's batting .203, no home runs and 14 hits. You think they're going to get a lot for Dom Smith? They're going to get crap for him.
They can
They're
get.
going to
Yeah,
get
they can
crap
get a
for him.
reliever, dude.
They're going to
They
get
can
crap
get a
for him.
reliever.
A guy that's hitting 203 has no home runs. He's not
Yeah,
gonna.
listen, there's
69 at
players every year
bats.
there's players every year that get traded because of like they don't fit on
fine.
teams or
It's
whatever
fine.
or analytics or whatever. And there's guys that can go there and be
Jeff,
effective.
nobody is going to trade anything for this guy right now the way he's playing. Nobody.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It doesn't have to be Dom Smith. It could be minor leaguers.
All right, fine.
Yeah, it could be one of the other fringe hitters that don't get anything.
Right.
And relief pitchers aren't usually
It's not-
pricey.
Yes, they are. If you want to get a good relief pitcher,
We're not, but the Mets, I don't think need a top end one. They just need a lot of depth more because they have Diaz and Smith are fantastic this year. The question is, can they get guys like Lugo to bounce back, who's pitched a little better but still not great? Trevor May's still hurt, and he hasn't pitched well since then.
Trevor May is not coming back for the rest of the year.
Yeah, so you need more depth. I don't think the Mets are pursuing just like one big flashy arm. They're probably going to go for two different guys.
We'll see.
And like Jeff's saying, because position players are going to have a lot more value, especially a left-handed hitter, a young team could end up going for that if they find they have an overperforming relief pitcher. Overperforming relief pitchers on bad teams get traded very often too. And that
look at the Mets numbers at hitting against good pitching.
They could just be trading Dom
Go
Smith
look
for
at
a
the
guy
Mets. Go look
Dude.
at the Mets numbers. Hold on. Go look at the Mets numbers right now against good pitching.
Again with the numbers.
Good pitching. Go look at what they've done against good pitching. That's all I want to say about that. Go look at it because they
but I'm
played
just- right,
shit.
that's fi-
Okay, excuse
Right,
my
that's
language,
fine,
but they
I'm just
have.
telling you, they could trade Dom Smith for a guy that has like a big contract that might be expiring. You know what I'm saying? They don't necessarily have to get a guy that's going to be on the team long term. Like there's always deals to be had that are done like that. You know, like they totally get a guy on an expiring contract.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Whatever. The fact is that I'm not betting on the Mets this year to win the World Series. They're not even the best team in the National League, even though they have
Polar
the
bear
best
power.
record.
They got the best power hitter in New York. Polar bear power.
Okay, the best power hitter in New York is Aaron Judge. It's a fact. Go look at the numbers.
Polar bear
he's got
power.
14 home runs. Yeah,
It's
That's
Aaron
great.
Judge.
Now, Polar bear power will be ahead of him by the end of the year.
Okay. It's not even going to be
I hope
close.
you're right, Jeff. But right now, Aaron Judge is off to a scorching start.
Give me Alonso all day, every day.
Okay.
Snug says
Over baseball, Strahan.
Sluck says they are quick. They're long. They block a lot of shots and play together. Brightness and Green. The Mets don't need him at the moment. Hopefully they could get arrested for a playoff push. We'll see because they have two other guys hurt though too, Snug. So they have to manage the starting rotation right now. Well, McGill just got hurt, and then DeGrom's been hurt. Get Jeff.
See, Snug's a genius. Greatness and Green. That's a great saying. Greatness and Green. See, that's an absolute genius saying. We need more smart people like him. Greatness and Green.
Real smart.
Snug says Garrett Cole is a tough playoff pitcher. Nestor Cortez is the best mustache in baseball, and I salute him. That's the first mention of teabagged on this show. Speedy, I can't wait to see Speedy's full back polar bear tats. And by definition,
the Mets would have to win the World Series, right?
Good pitching. That's what makes him good. Yes, if the Mets win the World Series, yes,
they're not going to win.
I'd have to get a full polar bear tattoo on my back. Yes.
Listen. I would love to see that, but I don't think the Mets will win a World Series. So that's all.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to stay healthy and manage injuries to do that.
As far as an oblique injury, we've seen this with pitchers. Syndergaard. Yep. This oblique injury is going to be significant. Even when he comes back 6 to 8 weeks, it's never going to be the same. Syndergaard, it took him 2 years to get healthy. This guy is 38 years old. It's not going to be easy. I'll tell you this. Me and my uncle were working out our obliques today. I was teaching him some oblique workouts. Your obliques really controls the core of your muscles. And when you pull and you sprain something like this, you're never the same. You have to really just like rest. And these guys try to get back. This is a significant injury. And this is a grade 1 sprain, being out 6 to 8 weeks. Right. So I'm telling you right now, Max Scherzer will not be the same for the rest of the year. This is a bad injury. And it sucks because now Jacob deGrom's coming back from another injury. And is Jacob deGrom going to be 100% healthy? You're looking at your two dominant force pitchers. And now that Jacob deGrom's coming back, Max Scherzer's out. So we might not see Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom in the lineup together until August.
No, you probably won't see that until at least either after the All-Star break or even just right before. If Scherzer,
they need it.
They'll probably need it just because they have
their bullpen is horrible.
Tyler McGill's now hurt too, so you're now dealing with Carrasco right at the top of your rotation with Bassett, and then Carrasco's also had his share of injury issues too. So who says he doesn't get hurt either?
Bassett's the only one I would trust.
Bassett's the only one that's been durable throughout his career.
Hit in the head with a baseball.
Well, yeah, but that's not. That's a freak accident.
I'm just saying. We all know it's a freak accident.
But
open your eyes when you talk too.
The Mets, because they don't have the bullpen depth, they're going to have to trust guys in different roles, kind of like what we're seeing with the Yankees this year too, where the Yankees have made starters into bullpen arms and vice versa. The Mets might have to do the reverse with a lot of the guys that are struggling out of the pen. The problem is the Mets pitching depth in their farm system is nothing special, where they're going to have to go after some veterans. And if those guys can't stay healthy, it could be a problem for them because then you're going to have to stretch other guys out, have to go to openers a lot of the time and overuse your bullpen.
Mets all the way. They're winning the East.
Good.
I love the Mets this year.
Congratulations
They're
to
great.
you.
Yes. Glad you could jump on the bandwagon, Jeff.
Listen, I'm a fan of the Mets. I think they're the best team in New York. Best team in New York for sure.
Congratulations.
I can't wait to see them in the playoffs this year and go further than the Pinstripes.
You're an idiot. You know that? You're just a child. You really are. You just want to see him get that tattoo. That's what it is.
Oh, that's what Snug wants. Snug's ready for the tattoo.
I could care less about the tattoo. I just like to see the Mets have success. I think Uncle Stevie is doing great things.
Well, congratulations to you. Now, to finish up,
what do you guys think about the Saban Jimbo Fisher feud going on right now?
We're gonna get into that. I just want to finish up with baseball quick, and then we're gonna finish that. That's the last topic we're gonna get into. Also, there's executives coming out right now with the Nationals. That a lot of people believe that the Nationals are going to be looking to move Juan Soto before the trade deadline. I'll tell you why this is not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. And one of the main reasons, what are you doing, Jeff? You're making too much noise over there. Why I think this isn't going to happen right now is because Juan Soto is not playing well. And even though I look at Juan Soto right now, he's a superstar player. He's one of the best players in the league. Statistic-wise, he's as good as anybody, as good as Mike Trout. And he's 22 years old. He's got a lot of baseball left. First of all, he didn't take the 2 contracts that were offered to him by the Nationals. Even at the lockout, he was offered 13 and $350. He didn't take that. And I think he believes that he wants to be the first $500 million player, which he probably will be. I just see right now where the game is and where they're moving, the Nationals are moving. If they trade Juan Soto, it's a complete rebuilding stage, and they're going to have nobody going and watching those games. Juan Soto is the face right now of that franchise. He's got 3 years left on that contract. I can't see the Nationals parting ways with their superstar player, especially where they are right now in the National League East.
It's gonna be a very competitive market too, and that's gonna make it hard for the Nationals to try to pick out the best offer too, because the Nationals are not really in this kind of position where they can't just settle for one type of offer, because it's gonna be a competitive market. The Blue Jays, the Padres are the 2 lead teams right now. We've also heard the Giants be very interested.
And we've heard the Mets too.
I know you've mentioned the Angels as well as being a team that could definitely make that kind of move.
The Mets have the money.
The Mets have the money. Now, it's going to be a lot tougher for them being a division rival, so they're going to have to really overspend in order to do that, to get the...
They have a good farm system.
They do have a good farm system, but, I mean, in terms of pushing, they might not get the same kind of leverage as a team like the Blue Jays who are in the American League, or a team like the White Sox, comparatively, where that's going to make it hard.
If you put Pete Alonso in that trade with a bunch of prospects, you could get him.
Yeah. So it's definitely possible for the Mets. It's still going to be harder. Now, you're right. The numbers for Soto, his power's still been fine. He's got 8 home runs, but 250 batting average down, 11 RBIs. Yeah, that could be some contributed to team play. Most of his home runs are solo home runs this year. But yeah, those numbers are definitely going to have to be boosted up for them to get the maximum out of it.
Yep.
Because you got to remember too, they traded Turner and Scherzer in that one nice trade with the
Horrible
Dodgers.
trade. Look what Turner's doing right now.
Yeah, but the Nationals got well with that. Beyond that, trading their core pieces, they haven't been able to do it very well. Meanwhile, they did the other extreme when they were contending and traded a lot of their top guys for veteran players, and really overspent in a lot of those trades in order to get good relief pitchers. That didn't pan out there. How many years are we saying the Nationals had a terrible bullpen? They were kind of like the Mets for a while. They bring in these big names and they didn't have it. So they decimated their farm system too, and now are going to try to make
the Blue Jays make a lot of sense. They have a good farm system.
Yeah,
they have some good young players right now on the team. You could trade one of those guys on the main roster right now, one of the young superstar players. They're not going to trade Guerrero. He's untouchable. But the other 2 guys that everybody keeps talking about, where their fathers used to play in the major league, Biggio could be a guy.
Biggio's struggling too, so he might get a fresh start with Washington. Bichette's another one. You got Gurriel, Hernandez in the outfield too.
Yeah, so they could trade away 1 or 2 of those pieces and maybe a couple of prospects, and that'll seal the deal. And that's why a lot of people believe it is the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays are looking to move forward. Obviously, they're in the same division as the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Rays, so they got to compete and they got to stay close to those teams, especially with the power and the money that the Yankees and the Red Sox have in that division. So I do believe that one way or another, Juan Soto will be gone, but it's not going to be this year. I think it's going to take at least an off season for a team to really negotiate a great deal where they're going to get 6 for 1. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get 6 players for 1. Juan Soto's 22. Next year he'll be 23. This guy is going to be the highest paid player in the league. He's one of the top 3 players in the league right now, and he's 22 years old. And he's already won a World Series at the age of 20. Okay, so
and he's got so much value though too that it's still going to be untapped potential. He's durable. He doesn't strike out a lot, which is hard to find in a lot of these young players, even some of the top young players in today's game. So you got something special there if they could just boost the numbers up a little, because you're 393 on base percentage is very good, but 250 average definitely could be higher, and 11 RBIs you definitely want to boost that up too. Now, obviously, going to a team like the Blue Jays or the Padres, that'll change in a much better lineup.
And just so you know, Stuggus says Mets are already the best team in New York. They're not. It's not even close right now.
Snug knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, Snug's an idiot. So that shows you he's not paying attention to what's going on in the game of baseball. So whatever. Let's get into the finishing touches of the show. The Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban feuding over the rules and paying players. So, and listen, Nick Saban, we know he's very outspoken. We know what Nick Saban thinks. The game should be played the way it was years and years ago. And Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M, and they're paying players right now to come over there and play for Texas A&M. And They're the richest school. Like Jeff says, they're the richest school in college football. So they could do whatever they want. And Jimbo Fisher now is sitting there on a gold mine, because right now the way the NCAA is working with these kids making money when they're going to college, it opens up the floodgates for all these players to want to go and play for Texas A&M, where all the money is there. So I could see why Nick Saban is complaining. Here's the reason why I think Nick Saban should shut his what false? What's false?
That's all crap. It's all crap.
Why is it crap?
None of what Nick Saban was doing today or yesterday, whenever that was, was about Texas A&M paying players.
Okay.
If you've ever been to the parking lot of any university that has a good football program, they've all been paying kids for a very long time.
Yep.
Right. All that was pointing out to their alumni, hey, there's other schools with money. We got to start to step up our game. That's the whole point of that whole thing. And should he have mentioned Jimbo Fisher? Should he have mentioned Texas A&M? No, he shouldn't have. He should have kept his mouth shut and done it in a different way. And I can see why Jimbo Fisher would be upset, because Jimbo Fisher has a good point. Go look at Nick Saban's history. It's not very good. It's not very good. So if you think he was making some noble stand against the way the game is going, you're absolutely wrong, because Alabama's been paying players for years.
Yeah, and there will be.
All this was a cry for help to the alumni. Get out your checkbooks.
There will be a ripple effect too, because Alabama doesn't have to necessarily, I guess, prioritize it to the extent. Yes, they're going to be paying players under the table. They've been doing it for years too, as any power program is going to do. Yes,
every school has those, Speedy. If you're a fan of any big college football program, they all have.
Yeah.
Right. What did Reggie Bush lose his Heisman for? Right. They all have. Anyone who thinks that their school runs a clean program, right, it's because you're at Rutgers and you stink.
Well, go look at the movie The Program. If you ever seen the football movie The Program, that movie really shows you how football and how college football really is, and the way it works. And each and every one of those schools have these
blue chips,
alumni, blue
just
chips
because
too.
it was basketball.
Yep.
Right, just because it was basketball doesn't mean it doesn't apply to
Shaquille
football.
O'Neal and Anthony Hardaway.
Right, right. All of those things are all happening. And Saban should have kept his stupid mouth shut about other people's programs, right? That's a no-no. You don't speak out of school about what other people are doing. Because, by the way, everything that they're doing is all now within the rules.
Right. Yeah, and I think the leverage point, it comes from the fact that Texas A&M probably has to rely on that a lot more, as does Texas and a lot of the other schools and all these rich recruiting type things, where obviously Alabama's going to have leverage just because of Nick Saban, who he is. But Alabama's also getting it from the transfer portal now, too. It's not like they're trying to only be old school and so stubborn that they can't evolve. They're going to do it, and they have to do it at this point in order to do that. Now, Texas A&M, they got to prove it on the field first, because they may have all these five-star recruits, best recruiting class. They still haven't proven anything on the field. They were close 2 years ago in the shortened season. They were the first team out of the college football playoff.
Well, Jeff actually picked Texas A&M to win the whole thing this year, right, Jeff?
I did not.
Was it you?
No, I have not. I said right now I might be leaning Texas A&M. I like some of the things that they've done.
Maybe,
but they're not top 10 ranked. They're only ranked 14th, I think, preseason. So I haven't officially made a pick. I haven't officially made the pick, but I do like Texas A&M. And listen, the other reason why Nick Saban mentioned Texas A&M is because he's jealous. Because now Texas A&M, by the way, it's not even just the best recruiting class this year. Their recruiting class is the best recruiting class of all time.
Wow.
Of all time. Any recruiting class. It's the highest graded recruiting class ever. Any recruiting class. So he's jealous of that, number one. And number two, he's jealous. Who did Alabama lose to this last year? Who did Alabama lose to?
Yep. They couldn't handle that not great passing attack, and then Isaiah Spiller running all over them. Yes.
Right. So Nick, this is nervous Nick Saban singling out a school who he can see is clearly on the rise. And I don't see a lot of players. Alabama's still getting a lot of really good players.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not like it was 4 or 5 years ago. It's not. Georgia has taken away some recruits from Alabama. Tennessee has now taken away some recruits. Texas A&M has. So they have more competition now than ever before. And you're seeing petty Nick Saban and how awful he can be.
Jimbo Fisher, some of his comments were pretty funny though. Oh, you're a god, you're a czar. You just think you can conquer all of college football. Yeah, well, now the money's in effect, so have fun with that one.
But he does though. But Jimbo Fisher's right.
No, I'm not saying he's wrong. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, but that's what he thinks.
Honestly, Jimbo Fisher really doesn't give a crap what he says. Honestly,
He does.
Right now he said yes.
But you don't see any other coach, no matter how much they hate another school, right? Dude, you don't. Every Oklahoma alum, student, booster, everybody just shit all over Lincoln Riley for leaving. Did they not? And
Yes,
you didn't hear
of
Lincoln
course.
Riley say a peep. He was like, I enjoyed my time at Oklahoma. I'm sorry they feel this way. There's no way Nick Saban should be doing this to another program. No other coach does this. It's despicable. He's a disgrace.
I love it.
Oh, I can't wait till the next time Mark and Garrard come
He's
on.
a disgrace.
Jeff will rip into them.
You're laughing, but name another coach of any
No,
other school
I'm laughing at you because of the way you said it. He's a disgrace. I just think it's funny.
He is a disgrace.
I
He is
think
a
it's-
disgrace.
I think it's
he
funny.
doesn't know. He doesn't know what A&M did or didn't do or any. He might have ideas or speculation about it, but he doesn't know for a fact anything that happened, right?
Yeah, I think he's only pointing out the
the.
extreme level or in comparison to like the percentages of it, but every school does it, so it's
he's
become more of a
right.
norm.
Right. He doesn't like that A&M players make money, but Bryce Young's getting $800,000 this year, but that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm sure if he would have rather had that than to lose your top quarterback over a bigger NIL deal or bigger school that could get you that. Not that obviously Alabama's a big school, but to get the endorsements that type of way.
It is a big school.
No, of
It is a
course
big
it
school,
is. No, I'm saying, like, I'm sure he wouldn't be making that comment if Bryce Young if Bryce Young transferred, and then all of a sudden you lose out on that.
But this is what's funny about the whole thing. He's mad that A&M players probably got money. Where was this press conference when Bryce Young got money? Was he outraged when Bryce Young got money?
Oh yeah.
Was it? I can't believe that we would do. No, he didn't care at all. He loved it. He was eating it up.
Imagine if this happened a year ago too, when Bryce Young didn't even start yet.
Bryce Young started last year.
No. I mean, before the season, like if that rule went into place like then, and all this stuff where A&M
It was in place last year.
Oh, it was
wasn't in
okay.
place last year.
Okay, because Mac Jones obviously started the championship team, and Bryce Young because he didn't win the job at that time. So I'm just saying, imagine if that didn't happen then, when. All right, so maybe it was 2 years ago, that off season, the COVID year. So if that happened then, all of a sudden he could be singing a much different tune.
Right, but that's what I'm saying is he wasn't outraged when his guys were getting money, was he? But now other teams are catching up to his program, and he's all jerked off about it.
And they have to find a
Like,
way to
come
do
on.
it. I mean, what are these schools not going to they're not going to try? At least I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing Texas A&M will beat them in a regular season
I would have
matchup.
thought that Sweeney was going to be the one that was going to cry out and stuff.
He
like
already
this.
has been.
I know,
He
but
already has been.
But I'm surprised he hasn't gotten involved with this feud.
But Swinney is a different story. He does it. He cried out about it because he's a control freak.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to be able to punish kids if he doesn't like them and things like that. And these kids now have choices, right? I can play 4 weeks and then go right to the bench and say, screw it, I'm transferring, and there's no penalty. He can just get out of there, right? And Swinney doesn't like the fact that kids can do that, right?
Right.
And it comes down to accountability, right? Like these coaches don't like that players are getting some power, right?
Right.
Because before they needed letters to be able to transfer out, and if you didn't get a letter, you couldn't go to another school without sitting out a whole year and things like that. And because for years and years and years, all of these coaches were able to show up these kids' houses and sit in their living rooms and eat their mama's cooking and look them in the eye and lie to them, right? And now when you lie to a kid, there's a consequence. If Speedy's a wide receiver and I walk into Speedy's living room and I sit down with him and I say, Speedy, great nickname. We need an outside wide receiver. Your nickname's Speedy. Come and play. You're going to play every down. And you ride the bench. You don't want to be there anymore.
Right.
You want to play. These kids want to play. And that's what it is. They're losing power.
Yeah, and for going back to Devil Sweetie was the same guy that complained at players. What was it, Ohio State, 4 or 5 years ago, not playing in bowl games all of a sudden when they didn't make the college football playoff.
And that's why Clemson's never going to win again because of it.
Well, I wouldn't say never again. Their program's certainly on a downturn, and they're probably not going to get a whole lot better now that Venables is at Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I mean their big thing was they were even when they had good offensive players, Lawrence and Etienne and Powell and all the receivers that they've had,
yeah,
they've
Mike
been
Williams,
very good.
all those guys, yeah,
right. They've always still been known as a defensive team.
Right.
Let's see how good their defense is now that their great genius defensive coach is now gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's a loser. Dabo Swinney's a loser. That's what he is.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Jeff.
He's the worst.
Thank you.
And
Jeff.
I can't wait until you have Mark and Garrard on.
Oh, I know you're going to rip into them the next time they're on the show.
I can't wait for them to try to defend Nick Satan, right? and because that's all it was. That's all this was a cry for help. Oh, please, great BMW dealership, please bless my program with money. That's all it was, because he's a petty loser. This is what Kirby Smart has now done to Alabama. He's putting Nick Saban's head in a blender. That's it. One championship loss and your brain's in a blender. Now he doesn't know what he's doing, and now I got to complain about other schools. I can't wait for the Texas A&M matchup this year. Max Johnson is going to throw for 1 billion yards in that game. 1 billion.
Georgia's defense winning in more ways than one.
There you go.
I'm telling you, dude. This is why Alabama and their people and their fans and their students and their alumni are so insufferable. So completely insufferable. You're going to complain about another school when they've been cheating for years and ignoring it and going, oh, we're God's gift. We're so great. Get out of here, you bums.
Thank you, Jeff. Oh, man. Jeff from Tampa, ladies and gentlemen. I love him. He's very passionate, and his college football is definitely his specialty. So
yeah, and so is ripping Dabo Swinney, and so is praising Georgia,
ripping New York, and all that other stuff. The only New York team he roots for is the Mets.
Apparently.
Yeah. So
which is weird, because 2 years ago he would never praise the Mets.
He hates the Yankees because he's a Red Sox.
We knew that. We knew he hated the Yankees, but
yes.
he hated both of them at the same time for the first 3 years I was with this network.
He is a piece of work, by the way, but that's it. Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody had a good time. Thank you to Chris Nimbley, jetsinsider.com, editor-in-chief. Thank you. I know he had technical difficulties, but he came through and he helped us out. And thank you to co-author of Incredible Baseball Stats, Ryan Spaeder. He was fantastic too.
Yeah.
Really, really nice guy and very funny. He enjoyed coming on with us. He's been on so many other shows, and you heard what he had to say. He loves that we were ripping off, everybody.
Rob Manfred in particular, though.
Yeah, well, because we don't care just as much as he doesn't. So
I mean, at this point, who doesn't rip on Rob Manfred?
I think everybody and their mother rips on the commissioners in all the sports because they're all idiots. But that's just my thought. I thought Adam Silver was, one of the best until he let LeBron James run this whole, organization.
I remember 3 years ago, I thought you were crazy for thinking that Rob Manfred was worse than Roger Goodell. Yeah. Now it's looking reasonable.
No, Rob Manfred's the worst.
Now it's
He's the worst.
Like that.
Theo Epstein, I hope in 2024, I think he didn't take the Mets job because I really believe he wants that job. He really wants that job. And by the way, St. Louis just scored again. It's 3-1. So this game looks like it's on its way out.
9.5 minutes for Colorado to come back.
So St. Louis looks like they're going to tie this series 1-1 going into game 3 in St. Louis. Anyways, that's it for our show. Again, thank you to our guests. Thank you to Jeff, the Beeve, all the fans that listen to us. We really appreciate all of you guys. Check out the Weekend Crunch if you are here on Long Island, 103.9 FM, iHeartRadio. If you're not here on Long Island at 7 p.m., it's a great show. It's funny. And we definitely give you everything we have, just like the Sports Loudmouths. We will be back next week on Tuesday. We have 2 shows next week, and then we're going to be taking a week break. Speedy's going on this Maine tour, whatever the hell he's going.
We're going to Maine in an RV.
Yes, and I'm going to Florida. I'm taking my girlfriend's sister to move over there, so we'll be gone for a week. We'll be back the week after on Tuesday. So it'll be a week of no sports loudmouths. I know a lot of people want to jump off the bridge if that's true, but we will be back. It's the first week we've had in really forever. I mean, we've done a show all the time.
Yeah.
So
even on holiday weeks, even in different locations, whatever.
Yeah.
We haven't missed the show.
It's 2 shows. We'll be back a week after. But next week we're here. Tuesday and Thursday we'll be here. And we will be doing the weekend crunch, and then we'll take a week off, and we'll be back after that.
Yes, no, Speedy's RV adventure. Yes,
Speedy's RV adventure. Yes, with his family and his mom. His mom's going to do some funny things, right?
Yes, she will.
Yes.
Not the funny things you're thinking, though.
A lot of funny things, you know. And Snug, you got to send her cupcakes or something, you know, cupcakes so she can sit on it and light
sit on it.
Yeah, sit on
really.
it. Why, you don't like that?
She would not sit on a cupcake.
Why not? What's wrong with
because she likes cupcakes to eat them.
So why can't her ass eat the cupcake?
She would not want that.
Well, why not?
Because it'd be a waste of a cupcake.
I think, you know, the ass has some taste to it too, right?
God.
Right?
No.
Why?
I mean, it does, but she's not going to want to eat it.
I think the cupcake with the ass is a good idea, don't you think?
Of course you do.
I love to eat cupcakes with Speedy's mom.
I'm sure you do, Snug.
Well, you're going to have to eat it with your ass because that's the only way.
Nope. Nope.
That's the only way she eats them.
Nope. That's the only way she would never eat them. Actually, that's the only way. Actually, it's not the only way, but it's one of the ways she will never eat them.
Well, there you go. Again, we'll be back next week on Tuesday. Until then, this is Errol Marks and Speedy Beatty. Say good night. We'll talk to you then. Good night.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.